All right. What is up, everybody? Good evening to all of you. Nice and early on a Sunday, relatively early. And there's a lot of things that have happened in the last 48 hours. So it should be a little bit more of an informationally dense show. Donald Trump has released several statements, honestly, too many for us to go through. So we'll just focus on what's important, as well as the fact that Iran, I'm not centered. Let's get centered here. Sorry. As well as the fact that Iran has introduced this new, I believe, 14-point proposal to the United States, and Donald Trump has been deciding on it. However, he has said publicly, and this is via CNN in the last 20 minutes, that him and Iran have been, having a good time in regards to their negotiations. The talks are getting somewhere, but not too fast. Obviously, U.S. Central Command has announced, and this is on X, from their official account, as well as several other verified mainstream media news outlets, they are going to have guidance for these oil vessels that cannot pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, front-facingly, I'll just say before we get into everything, I don't think that this will be a crazy full-scale military operation. I think this is just something on its feet to give security or reassurance to these ships that are going through the Strait of Hormuz. However, Iran's response to this may not be kind. And, there's many possibilities as to how things can play out in the next few days, but we'll get into all of it. So I'll get into all of the good stuff. We'll go through Trump's Truth Social post. We'll go through what CENTCOM just said. We'll go through Iran's proposal, what I think is going to happen, what I think this means, and why I think Donald Trump is finally making a move. Because obviously gas is the highest it has been in a long time. We're at a record high right now since, I believe, 2022. And I think we've even peaked above that. Oil has constantly throughout the last 60 days fluctuated up and down. Now it's kind of stabilizing at that 100 plus mark, and people are really starting to feel it. And of course, if gas spikes for a short period of time, there's not much of a grievance or really this public outcry from the US base. But now gas has been spiked, and it has sustained its spike for the last 60 plus days. We are now entering the third month of this conflict with the war in Iran, Operation Epic Fury. However, Donald Trump, on paper, said that the operation was terminated. That was just to avoid the War Powers Resolution that Congress has the power to enact, removing the troops from the United States in the Middle East. And obviously, that would undermine Donald Trump and his entire operation. So Trump and Pete Hegseth and everybody else in the administration said that the operation is now, quote unquote, over, to avoid the act that can be passed by Congress. However, Senate still has a strong majority. And so I don't think that they would be able to actually get the War Powers Resolution to pass. But there have been some Republicans that have grown frustrated with the war because it's gone nowhere and none of our goals have been achieved. But yeah, the war is still going on. I know a lot of people were confused about that, but that was just really a paper tiger. There's nothing going on there. The operation is still in play. And so we're going to see what happens this week. But now Donald Trump has announced, like I was talking about with Central Command, this is called Operation Freedom. And this is going to be, again, a U.S. military guided system or set of plans to ensure safety for these vessels that cannot pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Whether it will work or not is up for debate. Whether Iran responds violently or not is up for debate. However, I think there is a good chance there, but it all depends on what is said behind closed doors. And this is the most important thing to pay attention to. Donald Trump has two sides here in this entire conflict. He has the Truth Social side. He has the ABC News side. He has the White House lawn side outside of Marine One, where he's telling everybody what we don't want to hear, at least if you're an educated individual, but he's telling people what sounds strong for the Americans, what sounds like he has all the cards, which is, I don't want to have to do it. They're begging for a deal. Their leadership is fractured. It is, quote unquote, disjointed, as he has said several times now verbatim. Their leadership is disjointed when we've seen the same leaders issuing statements for the last 40 or 50 days at this point. And so we know who's actually in charge. We met with them in Islamabad. J.D. Vance sat at a table across from them in Islamabad for those peace talks in early April. So we know who the leadership is. We know who we need to talk to. Of course, the supreme leader has the final say in everything, but ultimately we kind of know who comes to the table when it comes to a delegated peace talk. And that is Abbas Araghchi, the foreign minister. That is Mohammad Ghalibaf, the parliament speaker, and Ibrahim Aziz, who is the chairman for national security in Iran. And he just issued a statement in condemnation of Operation Freedom, which is the military guided system for these oil vessels passing through the 19-mile passageway, that being the Strait of Hormuz. So lots of interesting things. We'll get into all the meat and potatoes of everything, so don't worry. But what's up? How are we doing? Looking at the chat. I'm really bad with the chat, and I apologize about that. It's just hard when I'm like trying to remember what I want to say, remember my talking points. I'm like thinking chronologically for you guys, so I make sure I don't miss anything that's important for you to understand the full picture. You know, when you're trying to elucidate a large point with so many micro details, I just can't look at the chat at the same time. So, because I catch myself looking at the chat and then somebody will say something so stupid and I see it as I'm talking and then it throws me off. So like when I'm trying to really get into the midst of everything, I don't look. So I'm sorry. Because there's times where people will chat something and it's like something that I want to interact with, or it's like a super chat. I don't see it till late. But I try to be really quick with the super chats. But regardless, it's good to be back. Calm Sunday night. I always like to talk about the weather before I start the streams. Beautiful day in Connecticut. It was nice out today, so enjoyed some of the weather, but I've really been just keeping up on the news because a lot of crazy things happened today, and it was like one after the other, after the other, after the other. Really just with this whole Operation Freedom thing, the fact that Donald Trump said that he was reviewing Iran's plan and he's going to make his decision as to what he wants to do. So lots of things kind of happen. I know that Myron went into a lot of it earlier, but I'll give you guys the full package. And I think some things have actually updated since he's gone off air. So we'll get into all that good stuff. Shouldn't be too long of a stream, like rather a short stream. And that's what you can pretty much get used to. I usually run the stream for about 2-ish hours, 2 hours. And it's really just a lot of me yapping and talking. So sorry about that, but not too long of a stream. I just try to make sure that it's dense with information. You guys get what you need to hear. You get what you need to know. All of these complicated developments, I try to splice it up in a beautiful package and send it off to you guys so you have a better idea as to what's going on. Because if you just type in Iran on Google, obviously all the relevant news comes up, but it's really difficult to actually discern as to what the hell is going on. And that's Donald Trump at the end of the day. And I'm not trying to continuously blame Trump, but this is actually a part of his strategy, whether it's to his credit or to his demise. I'm not here to say that, but his strategy is to make it seem like everything is okay. But then you've got a whole different thing happening under the table when you pay attention to the statements coming out of the Middle East, out of Al Jazeera, out of the Iranian parliament speaker, or even the foreign minister, the things that they're saying. So it's very difficult to actually figure out what is going on. And then if you go on X, it gets even more convoluted. So that's why I try and make sure I can give you guys one sound narrative that kind of fits in with everything. But yeah, lots of crazy stuff. But Trump is just, I think he's now realized, and this was expected, right? Look, let's go back to the beginning. I'm not actually going to go through everything in detail, but just really back to the beginning. Don't worry, it's not going to be a full story time. Remember, this was supposed to be a few days, okay? And let us never forget, the President of the United States said that this conflict would be a few days. It is now day 64 of the conflict. It's been 3 months. And to the credit of the United States, the military, and Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, and Operation Epic Fury, I suppose. I want to be gracious here, so I'll always give credit where it's due. I suppose they militarily defeated Iran. No problem there. I wouldn't have a problem conceding to that, and I don't think that anybody who's been paying attention to the conflict thus far would disagree. However, as we know, oil is through the roof, and that is because Iran controls that small passageway called the Strait of Hormuz, where 20% of the world's global oil passes through. Asia, Indochina, depends on that oil desperately. And right now they are facing actually an energy crisis, okay, as well as Europe. And so the United States doesn't really feel the oil shortage, but we do feel that price shock and the price spike. And as many of you know, I see everybody always putting their gas prices in the chat. Gas has now reached an average of $4.40, $4.30. It's kind of hovering around that ballpark. And, you know, I think that the pressure has now grown to the point where the president has to make a decision. And it wasn't like this previously, because what could Donald Trump do? He would go on Truth Social and he would say, Iran is actually giving us a good set of stipulations for a peace plan. So prepare for this war to be over. 2 more days tops. Looks like we're going to have a ceasefire soon. And at the same time, he would also be saying they're begging to talk. And so we are going to seize all military operations indefinitely or until further notice. And so he was kind of able to manipulate the stock market, NASDAQ, S&P 500, and of course, the oil market to some degree with his words. That is the power of the most powerful person on the planet, that being the president of the United States. When he says something in the midst of a conflict, it can affect global oil prices. However, I think that he's kind of exhausted his ability to do that. He's forfeited his ability to really exercise that. And the reason why is because he's actually starting to take action. He's reviewing the 14-point proposal from Iran. He's reviewing their plans. He's hearing them out. And he's offering his own military aid or offering his own military blockade in the Strait of Hormuz to try and cope with this. The problem is, and I'm going back a little bit here because this started about 2 weeks ago, but the problem is in doing that, he's making things worse because that temporary relief does not account for the long-term issue that these lies create. How do we know that? Because Donald Trump says they're begging for a ceasefire. Everything is going according to plan. But then he blocks their blockade, which again further constricts the global oil market. So it is a silver bullet. It's really not doing much. And of course, this is really the strategy of Donald Trump, and it always has been, this posturing, this brinksmanship. But when you're in war, it doesn't work. And we've been at war with Iran. We've killed 3,000 plus people, and we've killed their leader, that being Ayatollah Khamenei. And now his more extreme son has succeeded him, as well as several other high-ranking military officials. And so now Donald Trump has kind of forfeited that ability to just exercise brinksmanship, or rather deterrence. And even the ability of escalation is something that we've lost. So we blocked their blockade, or we blocked their ports, which are responsible for them exporting and importing goods, oil, things that are vital for their economy to really strive or sustain itself. And in the act of doing that, things got worse on an economic scale. And so that's why I said a stream ago or 2 streams ago, I can't remember, but if you were watching previously, this has now graduated to an economic conflict versus really a kinetic one. And that's actually more detrimental for you and I, because we're Americans at home, we're buying goods, we're pumping gas, things like that. If you commute to work, you're probably really feeling it. You're probably spending hundreds of dollars every couple weeks, if that, depending on what you drive and all that. And so, obviously that makes its way to the Oval Office. And what does Donald Trump say when the press asks him about this? He goes, and his answer to this question has been the same historically, so it's never really changed. But ever since the beginning of this conflict, he says, well, Americans need to stop being so selfish and appreciate the fact that Iran no longer can attain a nuke. And that's what Pete Hegseth said during the Action Committee hearing as well, when he was being pressed, and it was filmed and it was live, and he was responding to all of those same questions, similar rhetoric. How do you feel about choking the economy and making American people suffer? Pete Hegseth, in response, he says, well, Iran no longer can have a nuke, and we're destroying their ability to have a nuke. So what's worse, high gas prices or a nuclear war? And again, this is the pretext of the war. And so this is very important for them to push this idea. They have to make it seem like there's this nuclear threat that is imminent, because if they don't make it seem that way, well, then it's not long until a lot of the U.S. base absolutely condemns and goes against this war, which has actually become the case now. And this article out of The Guardian, and I know it's The Guardian, but this is true. It says young Americans have soured on Trump. So right here, it says so many 18 to 29-year-olds have soured on Trump. His approval rating with that group has sunk from 48% in January 2025 to just between 25 and 33% in recent months, according to polls by YouGov and The Economist. It shouldn't be a surprise that millions of young Americans have turned against Trump, considering that he has failed to deliver on so many promises, most notably his vow to reduce prices on day one. For young people, inflation is the number one economic issue, far outpacing other issues, and that very much wanted Trump to focus on affordability. So increased gas prices, war in Iran, $400 million ballroom. 78% of Americans under age 30 disapprove of how Donald Trump is handling inflation. And so that's what I'm saying here. We've got a balloon that is become inflated with so much air, and it's just any moment now until that balloon actually pops, and that's Donald Trump and his decision-making ability. So I think we're going to see with this statement from U.S. Central Command, Operation Freedom, where we're going to get involved in the Strait of Hormuz, this is where things can either diffuse, which is less likely, however, it's possible, and I won't negate that nor take it off the table, or what I think is a little bit more likely, and this is just me paying attention to the history, Iran is going to strike. However, this might be a part of the whole plan. I do think that Iran striking the United States in this Operation Freedom is actually a part of Donald Trump's greater plan to get back into a kinetic war with Iran. See, I think he wants to strike Iran. He just has not had a good enough reason to do it yet. However, this might give him all the reason. Maybe this is a part of the strategy. You know, we increase our presence in the region, we guide these vessels, and obviously, if you haven't been paying attention, Iran is weaponizing the Strait of Hormuz by blocking it so that they can make money, right? They're controlling the maritime. They can make money on these ships, and they can make it painful for the United States to continue this conflict with them. And so if we get involved in the Strait and guide these oil vessels out with a military presence, with guided missiles and all these other things, I'm going to read the statement in a moment, well, then that's us taking away their biggest weapon. And what would they likely do in response to that? Potentially strike a U.S. vessel, which, by the way, in the last week, the Supreme Leader, Mujtaba Khamenei, the son of the former one who was killed by the United States, has voiced he wants to sink a U.S. vessel to the bottom of the ocean floor. And if there's more military presence in the Persian Gulf, he will do that. That's what he said in an official statement. As well as the National Security Chairman saying that if there's any U.S. military presence guiding these ships through the Strait of Hormuz, then we will strike them. I'll read it all now, and we'll bring it all together. So we'll get started. I have a couple chats I think that just came through, but let's get into all the good stuff. It is hot as hell in my apartment. Do you guys mind if I go just turn on the AC? Can you give me 2 seconds? Give me 2 seconds. Let me turn the AC on. I'm sweating. I don't know why it's hot in here. Give me one second, guys. 1 second. All right. Oh, goodness. So hot. And I like the apartment warm. I actually don't like it cold. My brother, Myron, loves the apartment cold. He keeps his studio like 2 degrees. I can't do that. So, but this is crazy. I had to set it to 67 actually. So, all right. Let's see. We'll get into these articles here. I'll see which one I start with, but it's all relevant. I don't need the headphones yet. MB34012 says, so what did we gain in this war? A good question. Thanks for the super chat. Nothing. And pay attention, and I've said this previously, but I suppose I'll say it again because it responds to your super chat. And this is really the statement that you give to somebody who tries to push the rhetoric that this war has been beneficial for the United States. Remember our goals when this started. Our goals were no more nuclear program, which is still something we're fighting for, I'll admit. However, we have not really effectuated any ground in covering that matter. But no more nuclear weapons, no more enrichment of uranium, or no ability to actually reach a nuclear weapon, which is done by or via the enrichment of uranium, getting to 90%, they're at 60. No more ballistic missiles. We might change the leadership. The people are going to take back the country. And now our bold claims and goals have regressed or receded to just wanting the Strait of Hormuz to be open. And so when someone says, oh, but this war has been good, oh, but this and that, you really start to understand that we've gained nothing, but we've also humiliated ourselves on the global stage, because now all we need is ships to pass through that Strait of Hormuz, which I don't think Central Command or Pete Hegseth really anticipated Iran would weaponize. I think if they anticipated that, they would have had a military presence there prior. And of course, we were exercising brinksmanship. We had so many amphibious assault vessels in the region before we started the war in February, but it seems like that caught us by surprise. And this is what I say when I'm talking about the intellectual laziness of this administration. However, maybe just Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth, I'm sure the Joint Chiefs of Staff and everybody else in between is telling Donald Trump, and by the way, we had official statements that intelligence warned him, if you start this war, it will be an economic disaster and it will be a war of attrition. Obviously, they did not listen. So, yeah, we've gained nothing in this war. We've gained nothing, and we lost quite a lot. Do you want to know what we lost? We lost our ability to flex our power in the Middle East. Why? 13 or 14 U.S. military bases were destroyed as a result of our initial attack with Israel on February 28th. The biggest one being Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. That's the biggest U.S. military base in the region. They hit the power plant there. Now, whether it's operational or not, I understand that there's still some things going on there, and so that's fine. But symbolically, do you understand how that looks? The United States is this grand power. No country comes close to us in military spending. We have more amphibious assault vessels than the next three most powerful countries combined. I get it. But if we don't have the ability to deter a country and we actually have to strike them, and after 40 days of strikes, 20 more days of talks, we haven't gained any of our goals, do we look like the strongest country in the world anymore? The answer is maybe not. The answer is maybe not. Are we? Of course. But it's all about the perception. And the perception is the biggest point of leverage that we've had over the world historically, right? After World War II and 1945 with the nukes, obviously the United States was unanimously the strongest country in the world, and no one dared to threaten our power, our sovereignty. We had issues with the Soviet Union. That all collapsed in the 90s. And so really the United States has stood alone at the number one spot. But China is closing that gap rapidly, more than they were in the last 50 years. Just in the last 10 years, they've gained a lot of progress. Russia as well, by the way, in the midst of this conflict, is making tons of money because we had to temporarily release sanctions on them to relieve the global oil market. And so the biggest thing outside of those two issues is that we've just lost our ability to deter. And by the way, the United States gains so much benefit from the petrodollar, and all of these Middle Eastern countries like the UAE that just left OPEC, by the way, so now they're a lone wolf exporting their oil. They don't have any regulations to follow, so who knows what they'll do with that. Maybe Saudi Arabia will follow, but the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, all of these countries have worked with the United States in tandem to ensure that we remain powerful, and we offer them, of course, economic support, but really, and the biggest thing is military support. Our military bases did nothing except put big targets on their back, in which Iran shot at, and they hit bullseye every single time. For the first 7 days after February 28th, when we attacked and killed the supreme leader, it was like a dead man switch. Every single country in the region got hailed on with missiles and drones and strikes. And so now Donald Trump understands that if he attacks Iran, the Gulf countries are on the receiving end. And that's what it's going to be every single time. And of course, I understand that's unfortunate. I don't have any vendetta against the Gulf countries, but you've got to look at things from Iran's perspective. They can't strike the United States directly. They don't have intercontinental missiles, thank God. And I don't think they would even try to, even if they had or possessed such a capability, because it would ensure they'd be nuked in the next 48 hours. But the only way they can really deal a blow back to the United States is by hitting their allies and making their allies hate them for it. And so in that first week or 2 weeks of the war, what happened? The airspace in Israel seemed to be over-prioritized in defense over the Gulf countries. A spokesperson from Saudi Arabia actually said this in a statement. He said, "It seems like the United States is offering very little support for its Arab allies and everything they absolutely have for their Israeli allies." And of course, that would cause a grievance for these Arab nations that don't even really like Israel that much aside from the UAE, but just have to do diplomacy with them on the basis that they share some sort of relationship with the United States and security. And so they're kind of cucked. And whilst they're cucked, they are simultaneously not receiving the support that they rightfully deserve because they pay for it. Because we make so much money off of them and their oil. We work together. And of course, Qatar invests in the United States. They gave us billions of dollars in the beginning of the year, giving Donald Trump a plane and all this crazy stuff. And what do we give in return? No airspace, no sort of interceptor missile program. And if we do, it's running thin. And it's attritional because these interceptor missiles that we use to defend the airspace of these Gulf nations are significantly more expensive than these really cheap drones that Iran makes in-house. Even some of their missiles are inexpensive compared to our Patriot interceptor missiles or our David system. So it's really just a matter of an asymmetric war. And, you know, I know you asked me, what have we gained in this war? But I got to go deep because not only have we not gained anything, but we've lost so much. And I think the biggest thing that we've lost that I don't see many people talking about is our Middle Eastern ally. And after this all blows over, which hopefully it does in the next few months, because there's a good chance this can last for a good deal of time, but let's hope that it ends, right? It diffuses. Well, then where do these Gulf nations look for support next? Maybe on paper, they'll still work with the United States, but are they really going to trust the United States or give it the benefit of the doubt anymore after being hailed on with missiles? don't forget, in the last 60 days, Kuwait has not been able to export any oil. Not a drop. Excuse me, not a drop. So really, this is a concerning matter where the United States actually poses a hazard. We pose as a liability. And not only that, but what we struck the hell out of Tehran and every other province in Iran for 40 days, and they still have a capable military that is waiting for us on the ground. You got to think about how these things look globally. So hot in here, excuse me. All right. Boofus Barney says, Riyadh, currently gas right now in Illinois is $5. Yeah, man, it's crazy. Gas is $5 for me as well, but I pump premium, so I think regular unleaded is like $4.30 or something like that. I'll be honest, I don't look at gas prices. And that's not because I'm rich at all. I'm not rich. I'm actually a brokey, but I don't look at gas prices because what are you going to do, nigga? Not pump gas? Like, I cannot stand when I'm in the car with a friend and he's like gas shopping. He sees the gas price on the sign, you know, all the way up in the air, and it's like $4.40. We're at war with Iran, nigga. Like, you're not getting cheap gas. Like, do you really think you won because you saved $5 on gas? Like, you got to kind of get a little bit more honest with yourself. So, you know, I don't gas shop. I don't even look at the gas price because I don't even want to pain myself. It's high everywhere. You know? Niggas be looking at gas. Niggas be gas shopping like, bro, that's crazy. Like, just pump the damn gas, bro. And I don't have a problem with people that are frugal, but that's like a senseless level of being frugal. That's actually not doing anything for you. Like, the time that you're wasting by looking for gas stations is burning more gas that's going to cost you more money anyways in the long run. So it's just so stupid. Anyways, Desert Joe, glad to see you're wearing a shirt tonight. Don't mind me. I'm just trolling my new favorite streamer. Hey, Desert Joe, thank you so much, man. Appreciate you. God bless. Thanks for the super chat. Yeah, we got a hoodie on. No shirt under. Golden Beauty 04 says, what's your type in woman? Is this a girl? What's my type in women? Why? Are you interested? Because I'm kidding. What's my type in women? Guys, we're going to get into the news, but I got to read these chats, and it's not going to be too long, so don't worry. Golden Beauty says, what's your type in women? I don't know. I guess I have a type. I don't know. I really don't. I've talked about this before, and then everybody cried about it, so I don't know. I'll tell you, I probably want to marry a girl from where I'm from, which is Sudan. I don't really want to like mix cultures and have to like impose my culture on somebody else. I don't really want to do that. So Tears and Pistols, thank you so much for the 5 gifted. God bless, my friend. Don DeMarco for you. I like white women. I like Spanish women. I do like light-skinned women. It just really depends on the girl, man. It really depends on the girl. It really depends. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough, you know? If I say I like white women, then I'm a coon, then I'm an Uncle Tom. So you can't say that. So I don't like white women, okay? You can't say that. You can't say that. Anyways, I let that derail me so much. I apologize for the distraction. Tears and Pistols, another 5 gifted. Thank you so much, man. God bless. Someone says Japanese. I don't mind Asian women. I don't have a preference, man. To me, a bad bitch is a bad bitch. Not gonna lie. All right, VW says, just filled up for $6.89 here in LA. Fuck my life. Bro, get the fuck out of California, VW. Thanks for the super chat. Don't super chat again, man. Use all that money for the gas and get out of California with the remaining money. Get out of there. Because Cali's just always got sky-high gas prices for no reason. Oh, can you guys not hear the sound? Here, there we go. Hey, Tears and Pistols, Don DeMarco for you. Oh, again, another 5 gifted. There we go. We're in business, baby. We are in business. Shout out to Tears and Pistols. Really appreciate the love. If you just got gifted a membership, say thank you. Say thank you in the chat to our friend Tears and Pistols. Constant supporter. Thank you so much, bro. I really appreciate it. Yeah, VW, get out of Cali, man. That's really high, but like I think it's just always high there. Justified Misogyny says, leaving OPEC bring them to have closer ties with the U.S. So there's some parallels there. but eventually they can branch off. I understand what you're saying. The UAE, there are some, I think, inadvertent overlapping interest in them leaving OPEC. However, I don't think that it will benefit the United States in the long term, and I'll explain why in a moment. But I got to get to the news because I am over here chatting about my types of women and stuff. Roy Barnes, do you like beer or liquor better? Neither. I don't drink. PFF, thanks for the super chat, though. PFF says, thanks for the stream, sir. Hey, thanks for being here. And thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you, bro. All right. Let's get into everything that's been going on. YB Lit, thank you for the 10. Appreciate you, bro. Thank you very much. Familiar name in the chat, so much love to you, bro. We love our supporters. Thank you, guys. Okay, let's take a look. Let's start here. Okay. Get the headphones on, get into mode. So this is Drop Site over on X, and don't worry, every single outlet is pretty much reporting the same 14-point plan. There's some differences, but really the foundation of this is consistent in what I've seen looking throughout the entire internet. So Al Jazeera reports Iran has submitted a structured three-phase proposal to end the conflict. Drop Site News has not independently confirmed reporting. The Iranian media have not yet published the full 14-point text. However, now, of course, hindsight is 2020, right? We know that this is pretty much the contents of this are relatively true. So there's a three-phase real proposal here that Iran has sent to the United States. This is what Donald Trump said that he was reviewing before launching Operation Freedom. But he says he doubt it would be acceptable. And he said that on Truth Social, I believe. But here it says, transform the ceasefire into a permanent end to the war within at least 30 days with a region-wide ceasefire. Mutual Iranian-American non-aggression pledge, including Iran's allies and Israel, okay? Establish an international mechanism to guarantee no return to war. Gradual opening of the Strait of Hormuz with Iran overseeing mine clearance and accepting U.S. technical support. That's likely not going to happen. Parallel gradual lifting of the blockade on Iranian ports, withdrawal of U.S. forces from Iran's maritime perimeter, and an end to military buildup. Amend the compensation clause under a new proposed framework. Phase 2, nuclear file. Full freeze on uranium enrichment for up to 15 years. So look, this is good. And this is where the confliction was. I don't know how true this is. Suleiman was saying the same thing. I saw this being echoed in some way on CBS, I believe. Look, they're willing to talk about the uranium. And Mario was saying this on X like 2 days ago, and my brother had told me. But it's not going to be the same way the United States wants to talk about uranium. And really what you need to understand is if Iran is to talk about any sort of high enrichment of uranium or the enrichment amount, all of these clauses or stipulations, the biggest thing that you can see, or at least the consistency that you can see echoed in all of these nuclear proposals, is they will quickly have access to that again. You know, for them, it's not about getting, or for the United States, it's completely about getting rid of it, right? For them to not have it anymore. For Iran, it's about it being there on the back burner if they need to quickly access it. And the reason that that's been the case for them is because we've attacked them and stabbed them in the back like 3 or 4 times during peace talks. So for them, it's kind of like, you know, it's hard for us to trust you anymore. But I think that that's a good development. Afterward, enrichment resumes at 3.67% under a zero storage principle. This was a similar thing in JCPOA. I believe that was the amount under the Iranian nuclear deal previously by Barack Obama in 2016. No dismantling of nuclear infrastructure or destruction of facilities. Fate of highly enriched uranium under discussion, export or downblending, but they're not going to get rid of it. Clear mechanism for sanctions relief tied to nuclear steps. Gradual release of frozen Iranian funds with a defined timeline. That's from the United States to freeze those funds for them. Phase 3, regional security. Strategic dialogue with Arab states and the broader region to build comprehensive regional security system. So Iran's foreign ministry disputed some of this. So let's see what it says here. And I'll just go ahead and read it because some of you are listening. I know you may be watching, but for the listeners, I'll just translate it for you. So this plan, as I mentioned, is based on initially setting up an agreement to pause. All right, I'm going to speed this up so I can read this like a fluent reader and not a full-blown idiot. Okay. An agreement to pause and end the war. And then discussing the implementation details over a 30-day period. Well, it's very natural that you cannot discuss and finalize the detailed implementation of a 14-point agreement within the framework of such an agreement. You need time, and this 30-day period has actually been allocated for that purpose. So something like an ultimatum or a deadline means this. Look, the IRGC, or the Islamic Republic of Iran, has never negotiated under ultimatums or deadlines. It has never allowed itself to be pressured by such artificial deadlines and continue to do its work. Now, regarding the issue of the guarantees, I want to say that this one proposing this plan, is there even a guarantee that American side will commit to anything again? What is your perspective on this when it comes to the guarantee? Look, I don't agree. And this is him asking questions. So I'll slow it down here so I'm not confusing you guys, but we are our own guarantee, he says. Our guarantee is our power. The guarantee lies in the leverage we have, and we must be able to use it. It is the best possible way. Our guarantee is our strength. So he says, all right, very well. So I don't know really if there's any real issue here with the nuclear. I think that this is the 14-point plan in its full legitimacy. I think the whole thing is just whether the United States is going to accept it or not. And what he's saying in this video is we're not going to be pressured, which is the whole kind of thing here, right? When J.D. Vance, Stephen Witkoff, and Jared Kushner went to Islamabad, Pakistan to talk to the foreign minister and the parliament speaker, it was kind of the situation of pressure, right? They didn't really allow them any ability to flex any of their maximalist demands, that being Iran. Because the main thing that was kind of halting everything and the crux of all of it was we need to talk about the nuclear, you need to limit your enrichment, and you need to relocate your uranium. And for the Iranians, that's completely off the table. And even in this plan, enrichment can resume 3.6 or 3.67% under a zero storage principle, but that's for up to 15 years. Full freeze on uranium enrichment for up to 15 years. So this has an end, just like the JCPOA. So if the United States was to concede to this, this would kind of be very similar to the JCPOA. And this is what I say when I'm always saying the same thing. This is embarrassing because we are walking backwards. We're maybe taking a step forward and we're taking like 10 backwards. We had this figured out. And so Donald Trump started this war because he wanted regime change. And that's the whole point of why we started this conflict in the first place. It was not because of the nukes. However, they may say that all the time. They weren't even going to make a bomb until we attacked. Now they may very well make a bomb if we can't reach some sort of permanent peace deal, because we've destroyed our ability to actually respect their sovereignty or their right to self-determination. So now they would race towards one. But previously they were just hedging at 60%, and 90% is weapons grade. So yeah, they were close. That threshold was high. And historically, no country has ever went over 30 and not made a bomb. But Iran was on the cusp. They were kind of tipping over, but they never went the whole way, obviously because they knew it would warrant an attack. And so for them, the whole point of enriching the uranium to 60% was to keep the United States away and was to keep Israel in control. That didn't work. So if we can't make a plan now, well then surely they won't just go back to 60. They may make a bomb and they may not say anything about it. That's the real scary part. And we forfeited our ability of transparency by attacking them without them even knowing. I mean, imagine you're Iran. The United States, Israel, the IAEA, any sort of regulation, anything, doesn't really reserve the right to know what you're doing with your uranium anymore when they attack you out of nowhere and kill your leader on day one. So we kind of lost our moral high ground there. You know, say what you want, but how can we condemn Russia when we did the same thing to Iran that Russia effectively did to Ukraine? However, if you really look at the conflict in detail, it's not the same thing. But just for the sake of argumentation and what the United States says to the press, what Donald Trump always says, what Joe Biden has said, it's the same thing, if not way worse, in what we did to Iran. So, you know, that's the 14-point plan. Donald Trump responded to that, and he said that we will think about it. So I'll go ahead and pull that up now. And I have some chats. I'm going to read them. I saw a lot come in as I was going through that video, so forgive me. One moment. Okay. Let's see. Rees at 370Z. What's up, Riyadh? What did you major in college? Marketing. You have a 370Z? That's cool. Piano Man 9685, $5. Thank you. Overly P5. My fault if this is a long question. After the war, what do you think is going to happen with Trump and all politicians being owned? Largely the same thing, man. But Trump is going to have a hard time in midterms because the House is probably going to flip, maybe even the Senate. And so for MAGA to pass their legislation again is going to be very hard. And a democratically controlled House. That's the real issue there. That's why this whole MAGA thing is dead after November. They're not going to have much power at all. Let's see. Hey, Riyadh, I'm a Christian wanting to learn more about the Quran. Is there any good English version you recommend? Thank you to you and Myron for your time and work. Thank you for the 20, Mewtwo. Yeah, I would say The Clear Quran by Mustafa Khattab is pretty good. I know some Muslim fundamentalists don't like it. It's pretty solid because it's easy to read. The translation's good. I've read it. You can also do Sahih International. That's also one of the best ones. That's like the most straightforward one, I suppose. But Mustafa Khattab makes it a little bit more, I suppose, understandable just with, the Quran is kind of like Shakespeare in Arabic. It's very complicated. So when you translate it to English, it takes somebody who's very skilled to get the message across correctly. So I'd say Mustafa Khattab is good, but Sahih International is also a good one. Those two are your best bet. MB34012 says, can we really stop them from nukes? It would take a complete brain drain of their nuclear expertise, or they would have to voluntarily give up. Can we really stop them from nukes? I mean, we can if we stay in war with them because they're going to be occupied. And that's a part of the reason why I think this has dragged on so long. We cannot just leave them alone. We have to get them to come to the table, sign some papers, make an agreement, because if we just pull out of the region and walk away from this, that's asinine. They will definitely make a big dirty bomb, as JD Vance likes to say, right? So, no, I think that we have to end this by ending it with some diplomacy and sitting at the table. Would it take a complete brain drain of their nuclear expertise? No. They could have made a nuke a long time ago, So they won't voluntarily give up anything unless the United States returns some sort of sanctions relief. We promise to never attack them again. There's a complete ceasefire or a peace deal between Israel and Lebanon. A lot of people forget that underlying peace in the middle, because Israel is attacking Lebanon, and in Lebanon, southern Lebanon, is Iranian proxy Hezbollah. So effectively, Israel is fighting Iran in the south of Lebanon, but really they're just killing millions of innocent civilians, or thousands. It's going to be millions at some point here. But they're killing thousands of innocent civilians. A lot of them are Shiite, just like the IRGC. So they feel a way about that. And the parliament speaker and the foreign minister and everybody in Iran that has some sort of political capacity has said that we are not going to reach any sort of peace deal until Israel stops striking Lebanon. And that's really the concerning part. Israel is always in the middle, able to just agitate everything. So no matter how hard we work on diplomacy, Israel carpet bombs a village in the southern Lebanon and everything is for nothing. Because I can guarantee you a part of that plan will be Lebanon and Israel can no longer fight. Israel has to cease fire on Lebanon. And it's going to be hard to do that. It's going to be very hard to do that. Antonio says, couple of shekels for lunch. Thank you, Riyadh W Street. Thank you, bro. Mewtwo, thanks for the other 20. Thank you, bro. Worked in the oil field and putting all the guys out at work onto you and your bro. Time to get out the Matrix. Time to get you out the Matrix. Thank you so much, Mewtwo. Appreciate that, man. Thank you so much, bro. God bless you. Oil field is tough work, man. That's not easy. But hopefully you enjoy the show. You're able to listen to it while you're working, or if you're even working right now, and everybody else that you're telling about the show finds it enjoyable as well. So, yeah, anyways. So, let's get into Donald Trump on Truth Social, because that's always good. And we'll watch some videos as well. I have a couple videos on the news queued up. But let's see. So this is what he said. So this was earlier yesterday at around evening time. He says, I will soon be reviewing the plan that Iran has just sent to us, the one that I just read to you guys, but I cannot imagine that it would be acceptable in that they have not yet paid a big enough price for what they have done to humanity. Really? Are we serious here? What they have done to humanity and the world over the last 47 years. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So, again, you can see the bad faith and smell it from a mile away. I can't imagine that it would be acceptable, okay? Whereas when we read this, it actually was kind of decent, They're talking about the nukes. They're talking about the nuclear aspect, or really the uranium enrichment, and they're saying after some time, they would bring it down at 3.6, they'd freeze it for a certain amount of time. I mean, they're showing some good faith, and this is them kind of pulling back. because previously they said we're not going to talk about any sort of nukes. I think obviously the first step is a long-term or permanent ceasefire, but then well after that, they would be willing to talk about the uranium. So I'm not sure why Donald Trump is saying that, but I mean, you kind of get the answer to that when you look at this. So this is Donald Trump on Truth Social today at around 4:30 p.m. Eastern. And this is long, but it's important, so I'm going to have to read all of it. And you can see it on the screen here if you want to read along with me. So Donald Trump says today, countries from all over the world, almost all of which are not involved in the Middle Eastern dispute going on so visibly and violently for all to see, have asked the United States if we could help free up their ships, which are locked up in the Strait of Hormuz. So just really quick before I continue on reading, did you catch something here? Because I did, and I want to show you. This is Donald Trump's tweet or Truth Social post on March 20th. So right around the apex, or kind of when we branched off of the apex of the conflict. And he says, we are getting very close to meeting our military objectives, whatever, always lying. But he says here, the Hormuz Strait will have to be guarded and policed as necessary by other nations who use it. Very funny. Now today, Donald Trump is offering protection with what is called Operation Freedom in that same strait he said on March 20th he doesn't have to police. He says the United States does not. If asked, we will help these countries in their Hormuz efforts, but it shouldn't be necessary once Iran's threat is eradicated. Well, it's May 3rd, and the threat is not eradicated, and you are getting involved despite the fact that countries aren't even asking you for help. Countries are saying to stop the damn war. And so you can kind of see here, indirectly, he's admitting that we're in a tough spot, right? We cannot deal with gas being so high. We cannot deal with oil being so high. And this is affecting everything. Everything is at a record high. So this is a response to what I've been saying for the last 2 or 3 weeks. The blockade of the blockade was to give Iran the same effect back that we were receiving, which was the global oil shortage, or really just the choking of the price. Here's the thing. For the last 40 years, Iran has had economic sanctions imposed on them by the United States. They know how to operate with little money. They know how to operate despite being turned against financially by the world's greatest power. And that's one of our greatest weapons, is issuing sanctions on countries that we have issues with. Iran has worked around that, and they've circumvented the matter to the point now where they can still build a very capable military, a ballistic missiles program, all of these drones. They have the radars from China. They have the intelligence from Russia. And yeah, inflation is very high there. Yeah, the civilian populace does not have the best time there. That's why they protested previously, and I always admit that. But I mean, they know how to deal with an economic hardship, and they've been dealing with it for several decades. So when you block the blockade, you're not putting them in a situation that they are unfamiliar with, rather that you're putting them exactly where they've always been, which is under economic hardship. By the way, there's been reports that ships belonging to Iran have passed through that blockade anyways. Remember, we only really shot one ship. That was the Tuska in the beginning of that blockade. An Iranian cargo ship. We hit the engine room. Donald Trump said on Truth Social that we got on board and saw what was there and seized the ship. And now, I mean, several ships have passed through. So really, our attempt of blockading the blockade is just hurting us more. And so he shot himself in the foot with that. And this is a further attempt to repair that mistake, which is Operation Freedom. So we'll read it now and we'll see what it contains, or what it consists of. So he says, several countries have asked the United States if we could help free up their ships which are locked up in the Strait of Hormuz on something which they have absolutely nothing to do with. They are merely neutral and innocent bystanders. For the good of Iran, the Middle East, and the United States, we have told these countries that we will guide their ships safely out of these restricted waterways so that they can freely and ably get on with their business. Again, these are ships from areas of the world that are not in any way involved with that which is currently taking place in the Middle East. I have told my representatives to inform them that we will use best efforts to get their ships and crews safely out of the strait. In all cases, they said that they will not be returning until the area becomes safe for navigation and everything else. This process, Project Freedom, will begin Monday morning, so in approximately 2 hours. Middle East time. Oh, okay, oops, not in 2 hours. Actually, it may have just started already because the Middle East is about 7 or 8 hours ahead of us. I am fully aware that my representatives are having very positive discussions with the country of Iran, and that these discussions could lead to something very positive for all. The ship movement is merely meant to free up people, companies, and countries that have done absolutely nothing wrong. They are victims of circumstance. This is humanitarian gesture on behalf of all the United States, Middle Eastern countries, but in particular, the country of Iran. I just can't help but chuckle while I'm reading this because, like, you started the war. This is why they're suffering. Many of these ships are running low on food and everything else necessary for large-scale crews to stay on board in a healthy and sanitary manner. I think it would go a long way in showing goodwill on behalf of all of those who have been fighting so strenuously over the last number of months. If, anyway, this humanitarian process is interfered with, that interference will unfortunately have to be dealt with forcefully. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Trump. And so, again, what can you see here? You see that he's attempting to do something different, but really we are desperate for this strait to open up. And he says, once we get the ships back out, it's not that they're going to get in. We just want to get them out, right? But to me, and I'm being a little silly here, maybe a conspiracy theorist, maybe, and just maybe, we're putting it out there, this is Donald Trump attempting to provoke Iran to strike U.S. ships or any sort of U.S. military asset so that we can start back up the kinetic war and get them or pressure them to concede to our maximalist demands. I think that's more of what this seems like. And here's why. Iran has grown some balls since the outset of this conflict. In the beginning, they were struck off guard and they fought their ass, tooth and nail, to stay in power, not get regime changed, and not lose to the United States in totality. And they've effectively done that for the last 60 days. And so in gaining the confidence of deterring the world's greatest power from continuing their military invasion, that also is showing in their demands. You can see remnants of it. Because what are they saying in these demands? Well, we're going to make the stipulations and you're going to review them. And if you don't like them, you're not getting your oil and gas is going to stay high. And we know your approval rating is in the toilet, as I read earlier. So Donald Trump is trying to respond to this bold posturing by Iran. And he's going to launch this Operation Freedom where we're going to get the ships out of the strait and we dare you to attack and we dare you to fight back. And so for Donald Trump, this is also him kind of gesturing back. And this is what I have said. And I don't mean to continuously vindicate myself, but I kept saying in the beginning, this blockade on the blockade is a silver bullet, but it's bad because now it's who folds first. Now it's who's going to win. And we've gotten to this petty economic issue where we are not losing. We got a blockade on their blockade. You know, there's a reason why we seized the military campaign or we stopped. It's because it wasn't working and it was earning us condemnation globally. And Donald Trump coped and said on the White House lawn a couple days ago that he feels the blockade on the blockade is working better than the kinetic strikes on Iran, which it is not. Neither really work. To regime change Iran and to win a war with Iran, you do have to put boots on the ground. And you got to go in and you got to get underground and you got to take the uranium with heavy excavators. It is likely a several month long process, long-winded, difficult to do. And obviously Donald Trump does not want to go that far because just the air campaign has earned him more than enough ridicule that he can already barely handle. So for him, he's trying to find the sneaky way of looking strong while losing. You cannot do both, okay? They are mutually exclusive. And so for Donald Trump, what's very important here is continuously keeping his image as sharp as he can keep it. Now, to the dumb people, it's working. And Americans buy this, and he banks on the ignorance of several people like you and I to buy this shit. But really, what we do know is Iran, despite the fact that they may be suffering from the economic pressure on the blockade, it's not more than how we're suffering. And they're used to getting shit out of the mud. For them, this is nothing new. There's no new occurrence here. Economic sanctions for 40 years. I think they can deal with a little bit of a naval blockade for a few months. I mean, what do you think? I think that's pretty fair to say. So for him, he's got to agitate the matter. And he's also got to boldly posture up. What better way than Central Command offering this protection insurance service for all of these oil vessels that can't pass through? By the way, that's what's making Iran beat us strategically. So we're trying to take away their best weapon. And we're doing it in a manner where we're saying, touch us, we dare you. So it's bold. But here's the real kicker. The chairman of national security in Iran, Ibrahim Aziz, says here on X, warning, Any American interference in the new maritime regime of the Strait of Hormuz will be considered a violation of the ceasefire. The Strait of Hormuz and the Persian Gulf would not be managed by Trump's delusional posts. No one would believe blame game scenarios. That's exactly what you want to see. And by that, I mean that's not what you want to see at all. I'm being sarcastic. So, I mean, here's the thing. Whose bluff will be called, we'll find out. This is U.S. Central Command's post, and this is kind of the detailed description as to what Operation Freedom is going to look like. And this is officially from their account on X. So let's give it a read. U.S. Central Command forces will begin supporting Project Freedom May 4th to restore freedom of navigation for commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. The mission, directed by the President, will support merchant vessels seeking to freely transit through the essential international trade corridor, a quarter of the world's oil trade at sea, and significant volumes of fuel and fertilizer products are transported through the strait. Our support for this defensive mission is essential to regional security and the global economy as we also maintain the naval blockade, said Admiral Brad Cooper, CENTCOM commander. Last week, the United States Department of State announced a new initiative in partnership with the Department of War to enhance coordination and information sharing among international partners in support of maritime security in the Strait. The Maritime Freedom Construct aims to combine diplomatic action with military coordination, which will be critical during Project Freedom. U.S. military support to Project Freedom will include guided missile destroyers, over 100 land and sea-based aircraft, multi-domain unmanned platforms, and 15,000 service members. So what happens if Iran launches one drone at this big Project Freedom? Could you imagine? We're back to day one. It's February 28th all over again, potentially worse. So again, I think this is Donald Trump casually finding a way to step into a restart with the war, but in doing it, he'll have the ability or the plausible deniability to say, I didn't start it, Iran did. And they've threatened us back, and they said, look, if you get involved and you try to help these ships pass through with insurance, which is how we're beating you, we're going to strike you back. That's what Ibrahim Aziz says, and again, that's the chairman of national security. And somebody put this picture, which is quite funny, I must admit. But I mean, look, can it work from the U.S. perspective? Yeah. I mean, it would be really bold for the United States, it would be bold for Iran to attack any U.S. vessels in helping these ships. Now, how it's going to be done logistically, I'm seeing different things. I saw a post out of the Wall Street Journal that it won't be direct. But what we can really gather from this is it'll be some sort of security or reassurance so we can get these oil vessels through. A couple questions come up as you read this, though. Is this going to be enough for these oil vessels to actually pass through? But I mean, imagine you're manning one of these ships, and you got Donald Trump and you got Iran on one end, or either end, opposing ends. And Donald Trump is saying, we're going to help you get through. No one's going to touch you. And if they strike us, it's going to be an issue. And then Iran is saying, we will strike you. Don't do it. Does that make you feel safe? I think the answer is no, because you've got two conflicting sides that cannot even come to some sort of ceasefire agreement, long term at least, and they certainly can't come to a peace plan. They were supposed to meet in Islamabad like 3 times in the last 3 weeks. I'm literally not lying about that. If you were paying attention to the news, after the first round failed, J.D. Vance was supposed to meet in Islamabad. He didn't even take off on the runway. On Tuesday, and then on Friday, and then on a Sunday by Israeli media, apparently, they were supposed to talk, never spoke. And so imagine you're manning one of these ships, and you see these two conflicting sides. By the way, they're paying attention to the news because they're directly involved in what happens out of the news. Well, then you probably wouldn't actually feel safe, even if the United States guarantees insurance. And we tried this in the beginning. And Donald Trump said, we will insure every ship. Don't worry about it. But no one's going to insure a ship that's passing through waters of a crazy regime that's saying we will hit you with a missile or drone strike you if you dare try and defy us. So it's a matter of posturing. And look, Iran obviously has complete control of that strait. They obviously do. A couple of Fridays ago, Abbas Araghchi, the foreign minister, said, we're going to open it up. Then Trump blocked the blockade and he said, now we're going to close it. And we saw the oil prices follow what the foreign minister was saying. When he said we would open it up, oil dipped down to even around 89 or 90 bucks a barrel, which is still quite high. However, I'll admit it's a lot lower than where it previously was. And then he says, never mind, we're closing the strait. right away, oil shot back up. So it's obvious they control it. Okay? Anybody arguing that is just an idiot. But kind of a scary turn of events there, you know? So we can watch this video by CNN of what's going to happen in detail. I got some chats here. But, you know, people may ask for my prediction. I anticipate, look, I don't know if Iran will really do it. I won't be surprised if they do it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they don't, because it is kind of a situation of a mutually assured conflict. You know, you hit the U.S. when they're passing through and protecting these ships. You know, you give the U.S. every reason to do exactly what it's been itching to do, but they just have not really had the real right reasons, at least globally. So now this will earn them, quote unquote, earn them the right to strike you again in a second restart to the war. But let's see. Let's see what we can pull up here. Watch something. So we'll go through the peace plan.
So it's
Sky News going to copyright me. Kind of scares me. We'll give it a shot. So let me go get some water really quick, guys, but I'll leave you with this video very quickly. And then, you know, I'll read chats beforehand, actually. All right. Elusive Nut, pause. W. Myron and Riyadh, Uncle Tom and Jerry. Thanks, bro. Arturo Production says, W. Riyadh and Wyron, you should see what Nick is up to. Nick Fuentes? Nick Fuentes? I watch Nick. What do you mean, what he's up to? It's Sunday, so he's not live, I don't think. Thanks for the super chat, though. Lotus25 says, Yo, Riyadh was asked to name one thing good about this war besides nothing. I think this war has just shed light on how much corruption is going on to the public. I'm trying to be YouTube friendly here. What do you think? Thanks. I completely understand you, and thank you for attempting to be YouTube friendly. Thanks for the 20. Yeah, I mean, it certainly has. It certainly has. But look, I mean, the tide has always turned. And I'll just be upfront about what you're referring to. It's the fact that Israel has a disproportionate amount of representation and control in our government and in Congress and everything else in between. So, I mean, yeah, this, I guess, exposes it. But the real thing that's exposed it is just the Gaza situation. You know, October 7th and onwards, that's when the tides turned and everybody kind of started to understand what was happening internally. And then, you know, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson joining the cause. It was known. This war is just a further proof of what people were already waking up to. So, yeah, certainly. MB34012 says, breaking a blockade and claiming it's a humanitarian effort. Trump is trying to incite Iran. Yeah, it's just, and like I can go on ad nauseum. Look, I've been attacking Trump a lot. So that's why I don't stop every 2 sentences inside of his Truth Social posts anymore and debunk him and show him how he's a hypocrite, or show you guys how he's a hypocrite. He's not watching, obviously. But, you know, I don't really want to attack him anymore because it's just been happening ad nauseum. I just want to give you what's happening. I think you guys have more than enough of an ability to kind of understand that he's losing his mind, really. And look, he still seems sharp when he's facing the media and answering questions in some regards. But, you know, ultimately, I don't want to seem like some bleeding heart liberal who hates Trump and is crying about the war. And but it's, you know, it's true. He's wrong. And this is why Democrats have been right and Republicans have been wrong. You know, so I've just refrained from attacking him because it's gotten tiring. And I don't want to continuously attack him. It goes against my interests, but it's the case that he started a war for the wrong reasons. He listened to Netanyahu instead of his own intelligence, and he serves the interest of Israel more than the United States. He doesn't care about us. He hates us. That's the facts. Because if he actually cared about us, he wouldn't be raving about a ballroom. All he talks about is his ballroom. Nigga, we got bigger problems. Can you help us? The housing market is shit. Oil is through the roof. You're talking about a ballroom because some guy didn't even get close to trying to kill you? You know, so I could do the whole attack him thing, and I suppose I'm doing it now. But it just gets old, you know? It gets old, but it's totally hypocritical. You know, he said he's going to end a whole civilization. He also said that he's going to send them back to the Stone Age. He threatened twice to hit their power plants. Those aren't light threats. Whether they are fulfilled or not, those are crazy statements to make. And those statements certainly show that you don't care about humanitarian efforts or humanitarian rights. Because how many innocent people in Iran are going to suffer from further actions? We've already killed 3,000 plus. On the first day of the war, we hit a school and killed 170 plus school girls, all under the age of like 10 and 11. And then he said, that wasn't us, that was Iran. They have imprecise munitions. Remember, he said that on Air Force One, and then Pete Hegseth was behind him sweating and nervous because he knew that wasn't true. And then U.S. intelligence actually said, no, that was us, and it was faulty intelligence. Sorry. You know, so this guy's got no moral high ground to speak from. Not at all. Not at all. NHK says, what's good, Riyadh? Do you feel that Iran building a stronger relationship with Russia and China is bad for Donald Trump in the U.S., period? Absolutely. Definitely is. They've always, look, Iran and China have had a strategic relationship for like 30 years, 25 years, if I'm not mistaken. But this will certainly give Russia and China all the more reason to have a vested interest in Iran if it means opposing the United States. That's kind of the opportunity there. And that's what it's been historically. But, you know, the real concern is not even Russia and China. The real concern is our Gulf allies getting screwed as a result of all of this. We've kind of been exposed in our inability to protect them and offer protection despite our existence there. That's the real issue. And I think, again, a lot of people are coming up short in explaining that. That's the scary part. So, Mr. Ferdinand, $2. Hey, good to see you, bro. W Riyadh, thank you. Appreciate it. Fade the Win, $10. The hoodies are always drip. Where can we get them? This is from Abercrombie. They make good hoodies, bro. They make really good hoodies, and they make good clothes these days. Back then, it wasn't good, but now it's good. You know? It's got a little boxy fit, a little crop. Pause, you know? I'll show you here. It's not bad. You know, it's a good fit. What do you think? Not bad, right? Very comfy, very warm. It's not like crazy crop like up here, right? But it's like stops right below the waistband. Good drip, man. We stay dripped up. So, yeah, Abercrombie, you can get them. They're the boxy zip-up hoodie. The heavyweight one, I think. They're like expensive, though. They're like $70, $80 now. So I bought a lot of these a couple years ago, and I lost like two because I'm an idiot. I leave my clothes in the gym. I go back to the gym. My hoodie's not there. So I had to re-up. I go back in the store to get the same hoodie that I've always been buying. This shit used to be $65 when I used to buy them. Now they're $80. I walk into the store. I'm like, oy vey, nigga, why is the hoodie $80? And the guy's like, yeah, man, they got popular. I said, nah, nigga, that's that Iran war. What the fuck? Popular $20 increase. You niggas are killing me. But yeah, I'm a big zip-up hoodie guy. $70 for a hoodie is standard now. I know, it's like crazy. Yo, clothes are just nuts. Yo, have you gone to the mall recently? Bro, what is happening? God forbid a nigga just wants some basic blue jeans. You're $100 in the hole. Literally $100 in the hole. God forbid you want some blue jeans, couple basic t-shirts, non-graphic, basic essential tees. You're like spending $250 minimum. Bro, I'm in the mall like, oy vey, nigga. That shit's crazy, bro. Niggas not made of money out here. Lost Ronin 25. Hey, thank you for the 50, bro. God bless you. I appreciate it. Love your breakdown, especially about Islam. While I'm Christian, I do enjoy your perspective that I can't get from the brainwashed Western perspective. Been watching Myron since 2020, and I look forward to seeing you become as influential. W show. Hey, thank you so much, man. Don DeMarco for such a kind message. Yeah, tariffs as well. Tariffs is really the thing, too. But I'm for it. I get it. I get the greater purpose. I'm not going to cry about it. Yeah, bro. Clothingflation. It's nuts. Lost Ronin, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, look, when it comes to Islam, I just give you guys the truth. I'm not like, yo, niggas talk about, oh, it's Taqiyya. He's lying. He can lie because of his religion. First of all, that's only if your life is in danger. That's one. Two, you know, the reason why I talk about Islam is not to defend it because I'm a religious zealot. You know, I practice my religion, but my religion is for me and your religion is for you. The real reason why I talk about Islam in the way that I talk about it is so you guys can have a 2020 lens as to what is happening. Because the distortion that Islam is the root of every single problem in the United States will never allow you to actually see the underlying issue behind everything. I've said this all the time. I'll say it again. It is the underlying factor for why we get involved in the conflict that I'm talking about now, which is Iran. Because what do you see Scott Jennings saying on CNN when he's getting baked by 23-year-olds? Well, we must destroy the #1 state sponsor of terrorism. It's like a script. I mean, they just hurl it out of their mouths disgustingly like a script. And again, it's very easy to say that on the surface, but when you start the story in the middle, you never actually understand what's going on. Why does that quote-unquote state-sponsored terrorism even exist? The reason is actually because of the fact that these people have been encroached upon by Israel for the last 70 years, since its creation and its inception in 1948 and even prior. You know, so there's a lot of issues with that. And people like Patrick Bet-David and Steven Crowder just run with that narrative casually. And listen, it is perfect and it sounds smooth and it's digestible for the American ear. Islam is a problem. They're terrorists, so we must stop them before their terrorism reaches the United States over in this hemisphere. That worked in 2003. That ain't working now. Because now everybody's going, you know, I'm not sure if I like these Muslims or I really agree with Islam, but I just saw an Israeli push a Catholic nun to the ground in the West Bank for no reason. Why did they spit at that church? Why did they spit at those pilgrims? Why did they kill so many kids in Gaza? What was the point of the starvation? Palestinians are running to get flour and rice and they're getting shot in their faces. And so people slowly woke up and went, that's why they're like that. Because they've been attacked in that region and they come here with that vicious anger. So we don't justify it. Terrorism is disgusting and no Muslim ever has a moral high ground or justification for attacking a group of people or attacking anybody on the basis that their homeland was taken from them. That's gross. That has nothing to do with the religion of Islam, but it's important to understand why that's happening so we can stop it. And then when you look at the reason as to why it's happening, it's because Israel is causing all of these matters in the Middle East. That's really the dumbed down way of explaining it. I explained this in the Osama bin Laden video that I uploaded a couple days ago, or really a week ago at this point, and I had some guys in the comments saying, this is a little scary. It sounds like you're justifying terrorism. All right, dumbass. Right over your head. You didn't understand anything I was saying. So, and look, I'm a Muslim, so when I explain it, people think, oh, he's defending Islam. I don't care what your religion is. I have no vested interest in making Islam look good or bad. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm talking about politics, and I'm just giving you the facts. Islam is not the problem. And anybody who tells you it is the problem, be wary of them. Be very wary of them. So, it is what it is. Hey, Oger ROG, shout out to you. Welcome to the squad, bro. Don DeMarco for you. I'm throwing the Don DeMarcos out tonight. I'm feeling crazy. But yeah, and I think most people who watch me are Christian anyways, you know? So that's how you know I'm like not doing this like Islam LARP thing. Like I just talk about what it is, bro. Don't like it, don't know what to tell you, brother. Don't know what to tell you, brother. Anyways, let's get to this video. Let me get some water. I'm parched. We're all out over here, so get this video going. Thank you to all our super chatters. Appreciate you guys. This guy's going to break down the 14-point peace plan. Give me 2 seconds as I go grab a refreshment because a nigga is a little parched.
65 of the Iran war, as reported, President Trump has received a 14-point plan from the Iranians. In fact, the Iranians claim that actually they've already received a response from the Americans. We don't have the full details of the plan, but we do understand it includes quite a number of elements which will almost certainly not be acceptable to America. The withdrawal of all US forces to the Middle East, reparations, and of course the nuclear negotiations, which might be an effort to try and delay them. None of this looks like an Iranian offer that is ready to capitulate or is desperate to negotiate, as President Trump has claimed. Instead, it feels like they recognize that President Trump needs an off-ramp. They're going to provide one to him, but at a price. And all of this comes amid reports coming in of a bulk carrier close to the Strait of Hormuz being attacked by a swarm of small boats. We understand that there's been no casualties as yet. Meanwhile, across in the Lebanon, although a ceasefire has technically been in place since...
Also, let's just go back to this because I didn't get to harp on it the way I wanted to earlier. Right here, withdrawal of U.S. forces from the Middle East. That is a problem. And that is something Iran is going to desperately want now. Because they can't worry about U.S. threats on their peripheral if the United States is acting in bad faith like we have the last 20 or 30 years. And so you think the U.S. is going to agree to that? No. You know, that's a big issue. And this is what I'm saying. Look at this. These are ballsy demands. Payment of reparations. No more forces in the Middle East. Nuclear negotiations to happen after the war. Pretty much Iran saying, look, nigga, get out of here. Draw up a plan that you won't talk to us again or you won't attack us again. Sorry. Draw something up, sign it, saying you won't attack us again. You'll get your forces out of here. And then maybe we'll talk to you about the nukes. That's pretty ballsy. That's pretty ballsy. And so, of course, Donald Trump is going to respond by invoking some sort of military presence in the Strait of Hormuz. This is a game of who's tougher. This is a game of bully, and Iran refuses to be bullied. So, again, the second phase where they're willing to freeze the enrichment and then bring it back down to 3.67, that's actually good, and that's not something I anticipated seeing. But, of course, that only happens after many of these types of demands, and these are maximalist. Payment of reparations, withdrawal of U.S. forces from the Middle East. I mean, how much is that payment for reparations going to be? We've already spent $25 billion in this war. And now allegedly we're asking for $1 trillion to continue it. So, you know, how much is the reparations? We destroyed so much of Iran. We hit them hard, especially their capital. You know, that's also, we're talking likely billions of dollars, if not hundreds of millions.
Being attacked by a swarm.
Let's see. Got some chats here. BFD 280, bruh, and women can get 12 outfits for $200. Go to Ross. Guys may take some time, but you can find name brand stuff, and they mark this for 10 cents. Yeah, it's crazy. Girls also, bro, their clothes are weird. I'll like look at a girl's drawer and I'll be like, nigga, what is this? Is this a shirt? Is this pants? So, yeah, no, I mean, girls' clothing is just so much cheaper. What do they shop on? What's it called again? That cheap Chinese website. Somebody will say it in the chat. And then Did a Lot says, you're pro-Iran. No, I'm not. A pro-American. If you weren't dense, you would understand that. Thanks for the $2, though, buddy.
Of small boats. We understand that there's been no casualties as yet. Meanwhile, across in the Lebanon, although a ceasefire has technically been in place since the 16th of April, none of the sides involved were particularly keen on having a ceasefire. This was originally imposed by President Trump. Meanwhile, it appears the Israeli defense...
Sheen. What the hell is Ago? Ugo? Sheen is what I'm talking about. Yeah, Sheen. AliExpress. Nah. Good car parts, though. You want cheap car parts? Go to Alibaba.
Forces have issued some clearance evacuation warnings to 11 towns and villages around. What their strategy...
Mr. Clapcheese, thank you. Come again. Thanks for the $5, bro.
Has always appeared to be the Iranians want to build a buffer zone here to protect the north of Israel because that's where some of the Hezbollah rockets are coming in. Some of the attacks of clearances are in the zone up to Litani River, which is where we expect the Israeli strategy to be. But you'll see quite a number of the attacks are further north. So it may be that the Israelis are looking to take even more ground. But also in there's reports that Prime Minister Netanyahu is reviewing the ceasefire, both with Hezbollah, but also with Hamas. You might remember that in Hamas, there was a ceasefire back in October last year. Part of that deal was that Hamas disarmed as part of that. But inevitably, there's always more to these stories than meets the eye. At the time of the ceasefire, the Israeli forces were actually moving back to this initial IDF line. But over time, that line, they've moved it steadily forward, compressing the population of Gaza and the Hamas. More recently, we understand there's an orange line that now is in place. Part of that orange line...
Oh, Sneeko's with the Muslim Undertaker? W Sneeko, man. That's a really good collaboration. I'm going to watch that later. Anyway, sorry. I know a lot of you are probably like, what are you talking about? Let's get back to it.
It actually aligns with the yellow line in some place, but creates a new buffer zone, all of which is trying to get Israelis to deconflict aid. But in total, it's a total of 59% now of the Gaza Strip that then the Israeli forces are now trying to control. So actually, if we zoom out again now, the potential for the Israelis to resume operations against Hamas and, of course, the stalemate with the Iran war, all of this makes President Trump's Gaza peace plan and his wider Middle East strategy looking incredibly fragile.
I didn't say it. Before the pro-Iran comments come in, I didn't say it, okay? But let's see. Let's take a look at Operation Freedom and what everybody else is saying. But again, I mean, you just got to think about it. This is so sensitive. It's going to take one drone, literally one drone to hit a U.S. ship, and we are back at war. It's February 28th all over again. Excuse me. So it is what it is. It is what it is. I don't want to keep complaining, but it's just bad idea after bad idea.
We go to Alex Hogan in Doral, Florida. Alex, what you got down there?
Hi, Joey. So just minutes ago, we got this news that President Trump announcing a new operation. This is Project Freedom that will allow some of the ships that have been stuck in the Strait of Hormuz to be safely escorted out of that waterway. The president, who is here in Doral at his golf club watching the PGA Cadillac Championship, posted this on Truth Social, saying, "For the good of Iran, the Middle East, and the United States, we have told these countries that we will guide their ships safely out of these restricted waterways so that they can freely and ably get on with their business."
And look, I mean, just look at the messaging. And I know we read it earlier, but now it comes to my mind as I'm reading it again. For the good of Iran, the Middle East, and the United States. This is a provocative statement. The good of Iran means that they control the Strait. Focus. Why am I out of focus? The good of Iran means that they control the Strait. The good of Iran means that they have control over the Strait of Hormuz and that they're able to tow these ships. That's how they're able to stay afloat in this damaging war, especially economically, with the added U.S. naval blockade. So this is not for the good of Iran. But Donald Trump here says, the Middle East and the United States, we have told these countries we will guide these ships safely. This is another way of Donald Trump telling Iran, I dare you to try and do something to me as I undermine your last strategy to stay afloat. And what did I say before? I know I'm always saying, what did I say? I don't mean to be cocky or conceited, but I've said this before, and I just make sure I highlight that so I'm not so repetitive or redundant, but it's relevant here. Iran will hold on to the Strait of Hormuz with their life because that has been the vantage point of escape for them to have bragging rights. The United States is suffering economically. All these countries in Asia that are complaining about oil shortages can thank the United States. And this is because Israel controls the United States, and the IRGC previously said we're going to make this last until November, that being the midterms. So Donald Trump's approval rating can stay low. He can lose House seats in the House and the Senate. No more legislation, no more MAGA, no more golden age. So no more big, beautiful bill. For Iran, this is everything. So it's not as simple as just going, oh, they can offer security to these ships, no problem. That's why a lot of people are predicting, like Larry Johnson and others, and we'll go into those videos in a second, that this will likely start the war again. Just to harp on it a little bit more, but we'll watch the rest of this video.
Today, the Iranians claim that the U.S. has responded to their latest proposal. President Trump posted online that he doubted that the proposal would be acceptable. Iran says this is a 14-point plan following the U.S.'s 9-point proposal. Iran says that these were not nuclear negotiations, and President Trump has made clear that Iran's nuclear capability is a non-negotiable.
There has to be a wide open Strait of Hormuz. And there has to be a turnover of the enriched uranium and no path to a nuclear weapon. Those are the goals that the president's laid out and that we must achieve. And it really is in Iran's hands.
And that's a lie. That's a lie. It's not in Iran's hands. It's in ours. And the reason why it's in our hands is because we started the war. We started the war on February 28th. We had these bold claims. We had these really big goals. We didn't reach them. And so fine, at least end the war with some sort of concession. It's in our hands, actually, because we destroyed their right to self-determination, or at least we threatened it. So for us, now we must find the political off-ramp. They are effectively, and I'm not an IRGC spokesperson, they're only defending themselves. They got struck. They're fighting back. So it's not on them to open up the strait. They got the strait closed because we're blocking their ports. You do realize they opened the Strait of Hormuz. Hello, everybody. Iran opened the Strait of Hormuz. And then Donald Trump implemented a plan that closed it back up again. In return, he had the bragging right of saying they're losing $500 million a day. That's not true. It's estimated they've made $14 billion. And that was from the hearing at Pete Hegseth just a couple days ago. So, I mean, the political off-ramp is on us. And as somebody who cares about the United States, and it's crazy that I even have to say that, I think that means releasing the naval blockade so you give Iran no reason to continuously block the Strait. Now, if Donald Trump releases that naval blockade on the Iranian ports and he releases this whole plan of block the blockade, whatever, he stops, right? He seizes in this action or this operation. Well, then Iran is left with no choice but to open up the Strait of Hormuz. If they don't, then we attack them, and we are justified in such an action because we are no longer doing anything to charge them up to do that. But until then, they have all the plausible assertion to say, we continuously block the Strait as you block our ports. You're threatening our economy, we will threaten yours. They're only fighting back. So for us, it's important to pull out of that. And I'll show you. Just because I know a lot of people may have not have seen this statement before, this is what the foreign minister said on X. He himself said this, and I'll keep playing this video as I pull this up here.
Administration is greenlighting more than $8.6 billion in emergency arms sales to partners in the Middle East. It comes amid growing tensions with European allies. Today, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz says there's no link between the recent comments and the U.S. decision to remove troops from Germany, saying, quote, I'm not giving up on working with the transatlantic relationship, nor am I giving up on working with Donald Trump. Although last night, President Trump says that there could be an even larger withdrawal.
Why is the U.S. removing troops from Germany?
We're going to cut way down, and we're cutting a lot further than 5,000. Thank you very much.
And obviously that's in response to the chancellor's statements that are not in support of the United States. So, of course, Donald Trump is upset, and petty enough, he responded doing that.
Now, in terms of this latest announcement, Project Freedom, the president says that this will aim to free up companies and individuals, especially for those who have been on ships that have been unable to move out of the Strait of Hormuz. The president also giving a warning, saying that if there is any interference with this mission to try to get these ships out of the Strait of Hormuz safely, that will be dealt with forcefully. Joey.
Alex Hogan, thanks for the update.
Be sure to.
And so this is what I'm talking about. So take a look at this here. So this is Abbas Araghchi on April 17th. He says, in line with the ceasefire in Lebanon, the passage for all commercial vessels through the Strait of Hormuz is declared completely open for the remaining period of the ceasefire on the coordinated route as already announced by Ports and Maritime Organization of the Islamic Republic. So it's open, they can pass through. We still control the strait, but it's open as we continue talks. And then, of course, Donald Trump doesn't like the fact that they would have control over their own Persian Gulf. And so he had to impose that blockade. But really another thing to pay attention to here, and this is what I'm saying when I say that you can't really fool them. They don't like being bullied. This is the parliament speaker. He says on April 17th, the same day, the U.S. president made 7 claims in 1 hour, all of 7 which were false. They didn't win the war with these lies, and they certainly won't get anywhere with negotiations either. With the continuation of the blockade, the Strait of Hormuz will not remain open. So who's actually diffusing the matter, or who's actually exacerbating the matter from reaching some sort of ceasefire, some peace plan? It's us. You know, which is why I called out what that Fox News spokesperson or news anchor had said. That's not really true. It's not on Iran. It's on us. And it's usually on you when you start the conflict. That's how it works. So it's not rocket science here, you know. But let's take a look at what Larry Johnson said. I thought this was interesting. I just saw this a moment ago. And it was just posted at 10:29, actually.
Where Iran has a clear advantage.
That is very low. Allow me to turn that up for you guys.
On both maritime.
There we go. Okay.
There's where Iran has a clear advantage on both maritime drones, both underwater, above water, and then the aerial drones. So, you know, they're going to have to, you know, I don't know what the military planners would do. I don't know if they're inclined to just send one ship to say, okay, let's not risk more than one. Let's not risk 2 or 3. Let's take just risk with one. And when it gets hit and is actually potentially being sunk, what's the recovery? Who rescues them? So at that point, it would be the Iranian Navy would go out to rescue and take prisoner American sailors. And then Trump's got a real big problem. Huge problem. There's where Iran.
So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. So, Rerum Navarum just let this out about an hour ago. He says the U.S. Navy will equip ships with information on safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz, not threatened by Iranian mines. There's probably nowhere in the Strait, though, that's not threatened by some sort of Iranian military offensive attack, because they have the missiles and they have the drones. So that's an issue. Okay, and then Professor Morandi, he's been pretty right on a lot of these things, and I think he has some inside intel. So he says no ships will be allowed to exit the Persian Gulf without permission from the Iranian armed forces. Only a fool would attempt to ignore an Iranian warning. So, again, tomorrow could very well be the restart of this war, guys. And I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping maybe Iran is not brave enough to do it. But, I mean, they've been kind of brave enough to do everything that they said they will do. So, yeah, my brother's going to join us shortly here. W's in the chat. And we'll get his thoughts on everything. But yeah, that's kind of the long and short of it. And there was also a tanker hit in the Strait of Hormuz, struck by projectiles not too long ago. Not sure where that really came from, but we'll see. But I had one more video queued up that I wanted to go over as well. So let's take a look. Not good. Definitely not good here.
Let's now discuss the latest developments in the Iran war with our guests. Joining me here in the studio in Doha is Abdullah Bandar Ali Taibi, an assistant professor of international affairs at Qatar University, and in the Iranian capital, Mustafa Kosheshem, a professor at the University of Applied Sciences in Tehran. Thank you to both of you, professors, for joining us on Al Jazeera. Professor Kosheshem, let me start with you in Tehran and this latest threat that's been issued by the IRGC, this ultimatum of 30 days. How should we read this, and what is the goal? I mean, what happens after 30 days if there is no deal with the Americans?
Hello, and thanks for having me again. Well, as a matter of fact, the gathering here in Tehran is that the United States is not serious about talks, and it remains adamant to any kind of offer that Iran might send. And Donald Trump insists on his maximalist demands that he wants 100% of everything. He is still talking about the very same things that he was demanding last year, before the start and after the end of the last war and this war. So he has not changed at all. The kind of literature that he's using shows that he's not serious about the talks.
Did a lot says Elmod's timing us out for having our own opinions. I mean, you just said I'm pro-Iran, so they probably timed you out for the right reason, because you're slandering me. But I mean, thanks for the super chat. It just you just can't rage bait me. I'm never gonna really lose my cool on these chats. So I mean, it's whatever, buddy. Not my problem. You're slandering me. I don't know what to tell you.
The equipment and the man forces that have been, transited into the region shows that they are preparing for resumption of war. So Iran believes that the United States is looking for a strategy that is recurrence of waves of war every several months or every year. So Iranians do not want that, and they want to establish durable, guaranteed peace. Therefore, they believe.
Yeah, guys, don't worry. I know my brother's coming on. That's why I just I'm playing this video, because I had a couple more things I wanted to say, but I want to save it for that.
That there should be a red line for diplomatic efforts if Donald Trump remains adamant and doesn't do anything constructive towards the talks, because the sea blockade continues, and Iran needs also to take action in order to break off this sea blockade.
Professor Ali Taibi, what's your reading of the situation? Is diplomacy making any progress at all?
Well, not really fully. I think both parties, the Americans and the Iranians, they're not actually serious about the talks. And we see them with the maximum pressure they put on each other at the moment. We see the Iranians.
Let me just go ahead and put captions on for you niggas. I mean, I understand them, but, I don't have a hard time understanding an Arabic accent. You might, so go ahead and do you guys a favor here.
submitting their 14 points to the U.S. And they just putting so much pressure on the U.S. with withdrawing troops from the region, and this is contradicting with the rights of these countries in the region to have their own relations with the U.S. and their security measures with the U.S. On the other side, you see the Americans, they want everything basically from the Iranians, and this is not actually going anywhere between the both parties. And this is actually reminds us of the talks that took place before with the deal of 2015. That's actually started almost like years and years and years of talks that were secrets between the US, Iran, and France, Germany, and the rest. I think the Iranians want to have a prolonged talks. They want to extend this as long as possible. While the Americans, I don't think President Trump wants to wait.
Okay.
He wants the deal as soon as possible. And this is where actually we are hitting a very stagnation here period between both parties.
Professor Koshishem, Professor Al-Otaibi has described some of Iran's demands there as maximalist. Can you tell us more about these key demands in these?
The biggest maximalist demand, and he'll say it in a moment, I don't mean to interject, but just to kind of give you guys the full scope. The biggest thing you always have to remember is the United States wants to talk about uranium off the bat. Iran doesn't. Iran wants a guarantee of security, and then, and only then, after they get that for an extended period of time, they will talk about enrichment in a very fine line stipulated way according to their clause, not ours. Simultaneously, again, we are coming with that front facingly as the first matter, as the first call to action. So that's really where the clash or the friction stems from. And so as long as that continues, that's why Donald Trump has to get into this whole, I'm going to launch Operation Freedom, we're going to protect the ships. And this is Donald Trump also trying to call Iran's bluff. But really, like I said, it just might be a rouse for Iran to strike us. Then we get back to where we want to go. And so then somebody asks, where does that lead? Look, we protect these ships. Iran strikes a U.S. vessel. We go back to war the same way it looked in March and everything else in between. Then after that, maybe we can tell them we don't want to fight anymore, but we got to talk about the uranium. This is all to pressure them to talk about the uranium as the first step, not the last. So that's the biggest thing. Hang on. I'm getting a call from Myron. One second, guys. I think I got a chat here. D's Easy says, Don DeMarco. Okay, sure. You asked for it.
Don DeMarco. 1 second, just.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear
you. You can hear me?
Bro. Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, I'm doing like a new little test here with
take your time
with Discord. So let me turn my camera off over here.
Lost Ronin 25 says, every time you and Myron start streaming together, the intro song to the 90s show, The Wayans Brothers, pops in my head. Now y'all have to suffer with me. Thanks so much, Ronin, for the $10. Appreciate it, man. I'd play it, but I'd get copyrighted. What's up, man? There you are.
Yo.
What's going on?
Not much, man. I am
second stream of the day.
Yeah. I was on earlier, and then I guess Kicklight started having issues, so I said, you know what, it is what it is. We'll just move on over to OSS. Had a Zoom call with my guys, so that was good.
Your camera looks better. TPC did a good job.
Yeah. I switched some of the other angles as well. I'm waiting on one more lens to come in, and then we can get it. And guys, I got a new IG. I posted it for you guys.
OW
as well. It's the official. No, it's official Myron Gaines. Nice and simple to a degree. So that's kind of
what?
What was that?
I said, is Meta gonna come after you again or what?
They probably will, man. Bitch ass niggas, bro. I fucking hate Meta, bro. They probably will, to be honest. And that's what that pisses me off the most. Is like these dudes are fucking like trash, bro. Fucking garbage.
Yeah, I've got it here. Sorry, what were you about to say?
No. I was just saying the Meta sucks. That's all.
No, you were saying something before that. I think you were going to ask me about what I was.
Oh yeah. What have you covered so far? So we don't we're not too redundant on these ninjas.
No, you're good. I mean, we can just briefly recap. It's not like it'll be too redundant because the entire conflict itself has been redundant since the beginning of April. But no, we were just talking about Iran's proposal, Donald Trump deciding on it, and his new Operation Freedom Plan, where he's going to guide these ships through the Strait of Hormuz with this insurance or safe conduct, and how Iran is likely going to respond to it. I gave my theory to it. And look, it's just a theory. I could be very wrong, but one would not be wrong to think that Donald Trump is trying to call Iran's bluff, or really just trying to get them to strike a U.S. vessel with a drone or something like that so he can restart the war. I don't think Donald Trump has had a valid grounds to restart the war from the ceasefire talks ongoing and us not reaching a deal. And so he's circumventing that by involving the United States militarily in the Strait of Hormuz, kind of provoke Iran, and then start the war again. At least that's kind of what it seems like on its face. It could work. Maybe Iran won't strike a U.S. vessel, but that's kind of far-fetched, seeing the pattern and the way things have been going and the trajectory of all of it. So I do think the war could potentially restart. This is supposedly supposed to start like right now because it is morning time in the Middle East. So in the next 5 or 6 hours, we'll see what happens. This is going to be a very quick conclusion if Iran actually starts fighting back or not, because this is us trying to reach at their greatest weapon. You know, we said this previously, you and I, they're going to hold on to the Strait of Hormuz with their life. They've been using it against the United States. It's been economic warfare. It's been working against us. Donald Trump is increasingly facing the pressure. He's no longer to go on Truth Social or able to go on Truth Social and say, the war is over. They have no leadership. We're all good. And then calm the global oil prices. He's kind of lost that right, or he's forfeited it by the amount of times he's lied.
We saw his Truth Social post, right, saying that they're going to like escort it or whatever.
Yeah, I read it. I'll pull it up again just so we can have it for the sake of clarity.
But funny, I talked about it with the OSS guys. It's kind of comical because it's like, well, go ahead, pull it up, and then we can actually like go through it and read it. How ridiculous it is.
Yeah, absolutely nuts. And this actually dropped while you were live, I think, or right before you went live. So this is fresh. But yeah, I went over it with my audience, and I just thought it was comical how hypocritical the whole thing was, and it'll make sense right here once we get into it. So take a look at my screen. You should be able to see that.
Yes, I can.
Okay. So this reads, give me 1 second while I just split the screen a little bit differently. So yeah, of course, long-winded again. So annoying, but he says countries from all over the world, almost all of which are not involved in the Middle Eastern dispute going on so visibly and violently for all to see, have asked the United States if we could help free up their ships, which are locked up in the Strait of Hormuz on something which they have absolutely nothing to do with. So just right off the bat, I mean, this goes against everything he's previously said, because what has he said before on Truth Social back in March and even the beginning of April? I think he tweeted one time, he said, or posted on Truth Social, sorry, he said, you know, we don't need the Strait of Hormuz.
Go ahead, I'm listening. My screen's black for a second because I'm adjusting something, but go ahead. You keep going.
He previously said on Truth Social, you know, we don't need the Strait of Hormuz. You guys can suffer, figure it out. And so now he's getting involved. But he's making it seem like he's protecting these ships because he cares about the humanitarian effort. He actually cares about these countries and them getting oil. No, it's that we're suffering. You know, he's doing this not for the sake of these countries. He's doing this for the sake of prices back home, because the number one frustration has been gas is high, groceries are high, goods as a result of those two things being high will go up too. That will follow. And so he's got to respond to it. And what has he said? Him and Pete Heck said, oh, pay some high gas prices. You're being selfish. It's all worth it for Iran not having a nuke. That's not working anymore. You know, so I think he's shifting to something else that could potentially relieve the price, you know? So maybe some U.S. military presence will calm the markets. Maybe that's the thought. I don't think so. I think it'll do the opposite, but go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think that's a big reason why he made this tweet, was to calm the markets. I mean, Brent's is sitting well over $100 right now. Also on top of that, we already know that this escort thing is BS. He tried this at the beginning of the war when he said, oh yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll, you know, for all the freighter ships that are worried, we will go ahead and take care of you, and we'll, you know, think about Red Pill Clippers for the two gifted. You know, we'll take care of you and we'll go ahead and we'll escort you. And he did that to obviously try to, you know, calm the markets. But the reality is this: it doesn't matter if they have a naval escort. That's not going to make the insurance companies feel safer about their product. Like, yo, the United States couldn't even protect their military bases in the region. Do you think they're going to be able to protect ships that are sitting ducks with no interceptors?
And
Get
now
the
in
fuck out
Iran's
of
new
here.
proposal, they're saying the U.S. can't even have bases in the region. That's what they're asking for as the first phase. So they grew balls with their demands. They got confident after this war. That's what I was telling people as well. This is here. I suppose this is relevant as well, just for some context. So this is what Operation Freedom entails of. This is from U.S. Central Command on X. I read this, but I'll just really read like the meat and potatoes because that's what's important. Last week, the U.S. Department of State announced a new initiative in partnership with the Department of War to enhance coordination and information sharing among international partners in support of maritime security in the Strait. The Maritime Freedom Construct aims to continue diplomatic action with military coordination, which will be critical during Project Freedom. U.S. military support to Project Freedom will include guided missile destroyers, over 100 land and sea-based aircraft, multi-domain unmanned platforms, and 15,000 service members. So that's apparently about to happen any moment now, I suppose. But Trump continues on here. He says, they are merely neutral and innocent bystanders for the good of Iran, the Middle East, and the United States. We have told these countries that we will guide their ships safely out of these restricted waterways. I just said this. This is so provocative. For the good of Iran. The good of Iran is them blocking the Strait, not you helping it open back up.
Yeah,
right? So,
bro.
Again, this is like with the language, he's just trying to get Iran to kind of bite on the bait. And this could be another silver bullet. Like, how will this look in the water? Is it really going to look that intimidating or what? I don't know. Who knows? We'll have to see. Anyways, he continues on. Again, these are ships from areas of the world that are not in any way involved with that which is currently taking place in the Middle East. I have told my representatives to inform them that we will use the best efforts to get their ships and crews safely out of the Strait. In all cases, they said they will not be returning until the area becomes safe for navigation and everything else. So that doesn't help anything if they're not returning. This process, Project Freedom, will begin Monday morning, Middle East time. So right now it's 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the United States. So it is probably roughly around 6 a.m. in the Middle East, right, in Iran. I think they're about 8 hours ahead of us, give or take. Somebody can tell me in the chat. I am fully aware that my representatives are having very positive discussions with the country of Iran and that these discussions could lead to something very positive for all. The ship movement is merely meant to free up people, companies, and countries that have done absolutely nothing wrong. They are victims of circumstance. Yeah, the circumstances that you birthed by starting this on February 28th. It's like so comical.
Crazy, bro.
This is humanitarian gesture on behalf of the United States, Middle Eastern countries, but in particular the country of Iran. Many of these ships are running low on food and everything else necessary for large-scale crews to stay on board in healthy and sanitary manner. I think it would go a long way in showing goodwill on behalf of all of those who have been fighting so strenuously over the last number of months. If in any way this humanitarian process is interfered with, that interference will, unfortunately, have to be dealt with forcefully. Thank you for your attention to this matter, aka I dare you to try something. We're going to bomb you again for another God knows how many days. And here's the real part that makes the drama super interesting. The chairman of national security tweeted in response to this statement, and he says here, warning, any American interference in the new maritime region of the Strait of Hormuz will be considered a violation of the ceasefire. The Strait of Hormuz and the Persian Gulf would not be managed by Trump's delusional posts. No one would believe blame game scenarios. So, two guys making really big claims here. And think about this. If you're one of the guys manning these oil vessels and Donald Trump says, don't worry, we're going to protect you, we're going to insure you, we got the guided missile carriers. And then Iran is saying, hey, nigga, if you do that, we're going to bomb the shit out of you. Do you feel safe? You actually feel more in danger. So, again, I don't think it's anything that's going to help global oil. I don't think it's anything that's going to work. And this is Donald Trump trying to circumvent what is inevitably the only off-ramp, which is lifting the naval blockade. Go ahead.
Keep in mind, the market's open soon.
Yeah, they do.
So that's why he's doing that, because he knows the market's open soon. So he has to
9 a.m. tomorrow.
So he has to do something for that. So I'm not surprised that he went ahead and took the step to say, look, we're gonna do X, Y, Z, right, to try to protect what he has. But yeah, dude, he always does this. He always does this trying to save the markets. But I mean, the simplest thing, if I'm a guy, like I'm an insurance company, I'm going to say, well, the United States couldn't even protect their own bases in the region. You think they're going to protect our vessels? No, thank you.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, it could be a paper tiger. I don't know. That could be the case. Central Command has said how they're going to do it, and they've released that official statement today. And so I think there will be some truth to it. Now, I did see something out of the Wall Street Journal by Disclosed TV on X saying that it's not going to be this like military force like it may seem. I don't know. We'll see tomorrow. You know, like I said, Donald Trump is finding endless ways to control the markets. But, I mean, where's oil sitting at? You know, it's really fruitless or all futile for nothing because...
It was 107 when I looked earlier. But definitely check it right now.
We're sitting at 108. So it's pretty much the same, more or less. 108 for Brent.
108?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was 107 earlier. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised, bro. This is just kind of what it is with him. You know, it's just the unfortunate reality. And here's the other thing, too, I was going to say. Like, people don't understand that if this blockade was working as well as he claims, we would have been at war right now. Think about it.
Yeah.
Like, they would have been blown up the naval destroyers if they were gonna, if it was really operating that bad. Now, here's the thing. This is what I think. I think obviously the United States is overrepresenting the effectiveness of the Strait, while the Iranians are underestimating the prowess of the influence of the Strait and of the blockade. So anyway, the United States is overselling the blockade while the Iranians are downplaying it. I think the truth is usual somewhere in the middle, right? But what I will say is this. Obviously, we can agree that if the blockade was that good, right, the Iranians probably would have taken some serious military action against the United States now at this point, right?
Exactly.
Now, what I'll say is this. Number one, blockades are very difficult to enforce. Number two, it's an enormous amount of mileage that they have to cover. And then number three, we won't be able to do this forever because the longer we do it and the more money they lose, the more likely they're going to be on their end to escalate militarily and blow up some destroyers, which they can absolutely do. So, you know, I think on both sides, Trump maintaining the blockade is just going to be difficult to do. And then the Iranians tolerating the blockade long term probably isn't going to happen either. So this is why I think Trump is trying to figure out the next move. I think he's going to probably move towards kinetic strikes. That's why I said I'm rejecting the proposal to probably justify a further attack. But you know, he obviously has to do it in some kind of way. I know they moved some hypersonic missiles over into the region and some other assets. So he's going to have to try to find a way to do this. You know, I don't know if he's going to get to boots on ground now, but I do think that he's weighing options with assassinations and with another kinetic strike. That's what I think he's doing right now.
Yeah, he's endlessly circumventing. You're completely right. And for him, it's a matter of how far can I stretch this before I have to do the inevitable, which is boots on ground to actually beat Iran effectively, you know? But I mean, the naval blockade, it's a silver bullet. You look at it on paper, it sounds good, losing $500 million a day. And sure, it may be hurting Iran in some capacity. However, I have read that ships have passed through. Maybe it's a paper tiger. Regardless, Iran has dealt with sanctions for 40 plus years. You know, so for them, economic hardship is no stranger. They kind of know how to navigate these types of issues. And the United States does not. That's why Donald Trump every single day makes some sort of empty claim like, don't worry, you know, we got peace. Don't worry, we're going to support the ships. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Because it seems like he is not the one who is equipped to actually deal with this hardship. We're number one in the world, and there's no second. We own the finish line, like Biden said. And, you know, as this goes on, not only have we lost our ability of deterring countries, but we look increasingly weak because economically and strategically, Iran has found a way to choke us. And Donald Trump needs to respond to that, and he needs to desperately kind of can it or put a cap to it. So I think this is that attempt. But yeah, I mean, it's like, if that doesn't happen tomorrow and this blockade war continues, who can last longer? And that's the good question. I don't know, man. Gas is high. Yeah, gas is high, bro. You know, people are really complaining about $4.50 average gas. It's not cheap, as well as groceries, everything else. And just the fact that service members are at risk. You know, 15,000 service members guiding these ships. Who's to say that they're not going to be on the other end of these deadly drone strikes, missile strikes, whatever the hell Iran wants to pull out? And by the way, they're going to pull out their best shit for the United States. You know, they're not going to use the same things that they were using for the UAE and these Gulf countries that don't even have any sort of air defense, or at least anything left of what the U.S. was supposed to defend them with. They're going to probably use their best stuff. You know, who knows if it's hypersonic, God forbid, just speculation. But, you know, that is something that I can't ignore as well. But no, we'll see what happens. I had a chat here that I want to read really quick, and then
Go ahead.
I'll return to this video that I was watching by Al Jazeera. But did you have anything you wanted to put up really quick?
No, I mean, let me see here. I'm experimenting with this new fucking Discord thing on my thing. Also, we got to get you on StreamYard, bro. So you can show chats on screen and shit. I have an account that you can just use, link your shit to it.
Yeah, I gotta set it up.
It's easy, dude. It's easier than probably what you're doing now because you don't even really need to run OBS like that.
Oh, StreamYard is what OBS is. Okay. It's the same
No,
thing.
it kind of is, yeah. But like you can still run StreamYard through it. I mean, you can still run OBS for, more stuff, but it'll be a lot easier for you.
Okay. Okay. I can run the chat.
Because you can so you can show the super chats on screen.
Okay. You know what? I'll hit up Josie. She'll probably be able to help with that. Once I log
okay.
into your account. Go ahead.
No, it's even easier than OBS. But no, go ahead. So it was KVNG and then Red Pill Clippers. Go ahead, read your chat. Go ahead.
I had two here. Okay, let me make sure I'm caught up. Shout out to all you guys. Please like the video if you have not already. Really appreciate the love, guys. Piano Man $5 sticker. I think I read that already, but if I didn't, thank you again. Or thank you. Lost Ronan says, wouldn't it be more likely that Iran would ignore the American escort ships and attack the merchant ships directly? Then it won't galvanize American people because no soldiers die. Maybe, yeah. I mean, potentially.
No, well, they've already done that. They already had a ship. They already had some small boats attack today.
Yeah, I just actually said that before you joined us. It was like 2 hours ago I saw that reported. And so, I mean, potentially, but Mujtaba Khomeini, the current leader now, the successor of the dead former Ayatollah Khomeini, and he's the son, he's more extreme. He says that he wants to sink a U.S. vessel, and he said that if the naval blockade continues, he will do that, which could be a tell to the fact that it's hurting them, like you were saying. But really, I mean, with this is kind of like bait for them. And it's a matter of, will they bite on the bait? Usually the Iranians are, and you're pro-IRGC, I can already smell it coming.
Yeah.
But the Iranians, they've kind of been a step ahead. These are their waters. They kind of understand what the United States is trying to do. And potentially, yeah, they can hit one of these vessels. Regardless, so if they strike, I think while the U.S. is there, whether they strike our carriers or they strike one of those vessels, it's grounds for Donald Trump to restart the war. NHK says, Riyadh, do you and Myron think if Donald Trump put boots on ground, the U.S. would win? I really don't think so, honestly. Maybe after like 10 years. What do you think?
No, they won't win at all. It will be a bloodbath, and a lot of soldiers were dying. We just won't have the political will to tolerate it for long term.
Yeah.
Now, if they stay there longer, yeah, sure, maybe. But the United States simply would not have the political will to do it. I mean, people still understand, or people still remember, Iraq, and this war is wildly unpopular. It's wildly unpopular. The only people that are for this war are Zionists, MAGA-tards, and like people in the military industrial complex or people in oil. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
They're the only people that support this war.
A lot of the oil companies are making tons of money. At least the American ones are making a lot of money from this. So it is beneficial for them. And this is the shit that Donald Trump brags about. This is why I say it's like spitting in the face. By the way, I said earlier this stream, I really don't even want to attack Trump anymore because people are mistaking me for like some left-leaning, bleeding heart liberal. But you just got to like comment on some of these things. Like, it is true. Look, Donald Trump is saying, we have all the oil in the world. We have deep reserves. We released so many of them. We're making money. But that's not you at home, right? That's the rich CEOs. That's the billionaires. That's the oil hegemons. That's the CEO of Chevron and everybody else in between. That's not us, And so that's a further tell. It's like, you were for the people, kind of anti-establishment. Now it's like everything you're doing is for the establishment, big oil, and everything else in between. So it is frustrating. Iran.
Yeah, and then like again, and for the idiots that like sit there that say you guys are pro IRGC. No, we're just giving you guys like real military analysis that like we're not as undefeatable as you think. The Iranians are very formidable. They're very capable, and dude, they destroyed our military bases in the region. Like that should tell you right there and then that they were fucking up Tel Aviv. Like you have to respect your enemy to win the war, because if you don't respect your enemy, then what's going to happen is you're going to go in like Trump did, thinking it's going to be Venezuela, it's going to be quick, right? And then you get fucked up and people die. People die when you miscalculate. People die when you underestimate your enemy. So So when me and my brother are talking about this stuff, yeah, for idiots that watch Fox News all day, you guys might look at it like, oh, this is pro-IRGC propaganda. No, bro, this is the truth. We want America to win, but in order for us to understand, in order for us to win, we must understand what we're really up against. And you guys got to understand that Donald Trump and the Trump administration have a vested interest in you guys not knowing about Iran's capabilities. Think about it. Me and my brother told y'all niggas, what, 3 days into the war that they were going to destroy the bases? It took you guys, what, 60 days plus for you guys to see that they destroyed the bases. We said this shit on day 3, bro. On day 3, we're like, these bases are cooked. And then then CNN finally did a report and confirmed what we already told you guys. Yeah, the bases are cooked. Some dumb nigga in the chat, oh, they got a Chili's though. Come on, man.
I was at the Chili's, bro. I got a triple dipper.
I was at the Chili's. Some dumbass nigga in here, military contractor. You know what I mean? Like, you know, they have a vested interest in you guys not understanding, you know, what's going on. And obviously, I get it. It's in wartime, during wartime, like, they can't tell you guys casualties. They can't tell you guys what's going on. They can't tell you guys that we're losing certain things because it looks bad, you know?
Yeah, there can never be full transparency in the midst of war.
Never. So they got to try to keep morale up, you know. And I heard one of the CENTCOM commanders or one of the admirals is like in the region right now, right? Oh. So that tells me also that might mean something is coming up.
Is that Brad Cooper? No. Who is
that? I think they said it was like a Navy admiral, okay. Maybe.
But yeah, no, you're completely right. You're completely right. And this is what an asymmetric war looks like. The biggest thing is they out-strategize us because they stretched our missile interceptor system wide and thin in the Middle East. That's why they were able to penetrate so well. You know, they attacked the entire Gulf and then Israel, and that made it very difficult for us to keep up. Well, let's see. NHK5 says, Riyad and Myron, do you think... Oh, sorry, I read that already. Wings of Shu says, Iran government is suffering so much they are paying for hotels for all citizens that lost their homes/shelters from USA terrorist bombing, while rich USA can't even house homeless war veterans. Yeah, okay. True, I guess. UBI, Alex Jones interrupting Myron like Myron Riyad. I literally yapped more than him already. NHK says, at what point do the Houthis get involved or are activated? I think that'll probably happen if the Strait of Hormuz is opened and like Iran can no longer control it, which is unlikely. But then maybe they'd get involved in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. But I don't even think that'll be a necessary tactic. But who knows? Who knows?
They're going to reserve that for later on. And for the stupid nigga that said that, yo, like, shut the fuck up, bro.
Yeah,
like, shut the fuck up.
You're retarded.
Yo, like, some of these niggas, like, really need to get a slap in the face, bro. Like, shut the fuck up, man. Like, I don't have the patience for, like, stupidity from these retards saying some shit. My interrupts rad. Bro, I've been on the stream, and I've been quiet the whole time. My brother's been talking. Like,
I've literally yapped more than you. And you guys got to understand as well, like, it's not interruption. It's adding to what I may be missing, and then I just go back to where I was. Like, that's how the show is good. I don't understand why people even say that. But by the way, the thing with Alex Jones is brilliant. That was really good. So if you guys didn't see that, there's a couple clips on your channel, right?
Yeah. I put a couple clips on there. I'll probably post a few more. No, it's always good. It's always good going Alex, man. And I was there like for his last episode, so you know, it's always a good time.
Yeah,
it's always a good time. Yeah. And shout out to Mr. Fernand, KVNG, Red Pill Clippers. Shout out to you guys for all the stuff, for all the gifted subs. Let's see here. I'm trying to let me see because this obviously this situation, man, is getting crazier and crazier day by day.
Yeah.
And
the Pentagon made an announcement as well. Same thing that CENTCOM had said. The guided missile destroyers, over 100 aircrafts and unmanned platforms deployed to the Strait of Hormuz. Operation begins Monday morning. So right now, time in Iran.
This Project Freedom shit is funny. You want to watch it on Fox News?
Yeah, I had an Al Jazeera video. Play the Fox one first. That'll be better. No, let's do yours first. I think that'll be a little more fun.
Probably, yeah, because
6:48 a.m. right now in Iran. So,
all right, let me boom. Wait, what the fuck? Oh,
It's just
Sorry, I had it muted.
Out on Truth Social, announcing that the U.S. will help to escort ships from all over the world that are stuck in the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump put this out on Truth.
Oh, you know what it is? I think I figured out what this is. I got to do the pop out screen.
Oh yeah.
Because
that's you taught me that.
Yeah.
In the last few minutes, saying countries
God damn
from
it.
all over the world, almost all of which are not involved in the Middle Eastern dispute going on so visibly and violently for all to see, have asked the United States if we could help free up their ships, which are locked up in the Strait of Hormuz, on something which they have absolutely nothing to do with. They are merely neutral and innocent bystanders.
Yeah, and this is the retard. Okay, I already know where the fuck this is going to go. Give me 1 sec. I'm going to black out my screen real quick, and I'm going to switch it to, I already know what I got to do. I got to do the pop-out screen. That's the way to do this shit. You got to do the fucking pop-out screen with this thing.
Yeah, without pop-out, it's impossible to run.
Yeah, it's fucking retarded without pop-out. Bear with me, guys. Me and Bills were doing like a thing. So I'm why the fuck? Okay. Let me move this over here.
I'll read this chat while you're doing that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cinema log. I'm not reading that, bro. Come on. PFF 19.
What do you say? No, read that shit. What do you say? What'd that dumbass nigga say? You talking shit?
Yeah, he said, when Myron is ranting, Riyadh can't get one sentence. I don't know why people are saying this. I think this is attempted rage bait, which is why I'm not reading it.
You're nicer than me. I would have sent that nigga to the shadow room.
Yeah.
Even if he's paying, send niggas to the shadow room.
Yeah, I don't even know how to do that. How do I do it? Put user in timeout.
Hold on. There we go. Yeah, you just click a little thing on and then hide from this channel, and that sends them to the shadow room.
Okay.
Okay, so we're back here. Okay.
PFF 1974 says, even if Trump agrees with all 14 points, Israel won't agree to a ceasefire in Lebanon. Israel always breaks peace deals and ceasefires always. War restarts soon, in my opinion. No, you're completely right. Exactly. You're nailing the head, bro. That's the real deal. And that's the ability Israel always has that we have to fix first. They have the ability to always agitate. One of the make or break stipulations for Iran in that clause is that Israel cannot attack southern Lebanon. And I said that earlier. I'm not saying you're repeating me or anything, but I was saying this, if we get everything we want out of this peace deal and both sides have the peace that everybody's been desiring, who's to say Israel is just not going to bomb southern Lebanon again and start this all over? So that's the real concern. And that's why I say when it comes to diplomacy, Israel has to be involved. And there has to be a serious talking that is had with them where, I don't know who it is, but obviously the sitting U.S. president would be preferable to reprimand their actions and tell them no more issues with southern Lebanon, because they're always the ones starting it, which is why they get the responses of the rockets in the north and then fighting Hezbollah on the ground, in which they've sustained 2,000 plus killed in action, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Correct, Myron?
Last time I checked, it was like 22-23. My guy Jarheaded gave me some of the numbers. It was like 22-23 as of yesterday.
And that's the thing. They have this really, really desperate goal of kind of annexing southern Lebanon. That's what they want to do. That's the ultimate real mission there. And so while Iran is distracted, they have the best opportunity now to kind of get that done, because the United States has filled Iran's plate with the naval blockade, with the Strait of Hormuz, with now this new Operation of Freedom, with the strikes in Tehran. And Israel sees it as an opportunity to try and annex southern Lebanon, something they've had the goal of doing since really the 70s and the 80s and the inception of Hezbollah. Let's see. Thodic says, nothing, $20. Thank you, Thodic. Appreciate you, bro. Always showing love. God bless. I really appreciate it. Poppin' for Bree 973 says, Iran has said tons of times they support Palestine heavily. If this is true, that means they wouldn't nuke Israel because the Palestinians would suffer also. Who is in danger of this Iranian nuke propaganda bullshit? Yeah, I guess that's true. And no one's in danger because they don't have a nuke. They never did. Maybe if they were to have one, now would be the time. And that's what
they would have been using
it. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, yeah, if they were to use it on somebody, it would be Israel, right? It wouldn't be us. Would they even be able to get it across to us? They don't even have missiles that can go that far. So who knows? Punisher 541 says, with Hormuz closed, how bad would it be if the Houthis closed the Red Sea for the U.S., specifically Bab and Madab Strait? Really bad. Really bad. And that's concerning because that's their trump card, no pun intended. That would probably be Iran's trump card. Say we really screw everything up for them in the Strait of Hormuz and Operation Freedom goes well, right? Let's say that happens. Well, then the Houthis will certainly mobilize in the Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. And they've done it before. And if I'm not mistaken, Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which leads towards the Suez Canal that eventually gets these oil vessels into Europe, that accounts for like 12% of global oil trade or global oil supply. Yep. So that would bring us to 32% of the world's global oil being disrupted instead of 20%, which again, you would feel a lot as an American back at home, as well as the fact that Europe and Asia would suffer even more of an energy shortage and energy crisis than they currently are right now. Riyadh, dick him down. All right, bro. I'm mad I read that. Can you watch Jay Mitchell add Alabama? It's retarded. Do you know what he's talking about?
No, I have no idea.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Riyadh. But thanks for the super chat, bro. Okay. You ready to get back to the video?
Yeah. And then, Mike Dixie, thank you for the 15 gifted, man. Appreciate you. And then, can you hear my sound effects now or no?
Nope.
You didn't hear him at all on the last.
I faintly hear it through your headphones, but I didn't actually hear it through the audio.
Damn. Okay. All right.
For the good of Iran, the Middle East, and the United States, we have told these countries that we will guide their ships safely out of these restricted waterways so that they can freely and ably get on with their business. Again, these are ships from areas of the world that are not in any way involved with that which is currently taking place in the Middle East. I have told my representatives to inform them that we will use best efforts to get their ships and crews safely out of the strait. In all cases, they said they will not be returning until the area becomes safe for navigation and everything else. This process, Project Freedom, will begin Monday morning, Middle East time.
Going to be interesting to see how they do this.
I'm fully aware that my representatives are having very
No, let her finish, and then I'll say it.
Positive discussions with the country of Iran, and that these discussions could lead to something very positive for all. The ship movement is merely meant to free up people, companies, and countries that have done absolutely nothing wrong. They are victims of circumstance. This is a humanitarian gesture on behalf of the United States, Middle Eastern countries, but in particular, the country of Iran. Many of these ships are running low on food and everything else necessary for large-scale crews to stay on board in a healthy and sanitary manner. I think it would go a long way in showing a goodwill on behalf of all of those who have been fighting so strenuously over the last number of months. If in any way this humanitarian process is interfered with, that interference will unfortunately have to be dealt with forcefully. Thank you for your attention to this matter, says President Trump, posting that on Truth Social in the last half hour here, again announcing that U.S. will help escort ships that are stuck in the Strait of Hormuz.
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
This just happened 40 minutes ago. Interesting timing. But the U.S. Navy transfers previously seized Iran-Tuska vessel to Pakistan for return to Iran. That was the one that the United States struck, violating the blockade. Remember that Iranian cargo ship in the beginning of the month? They hit the engine room.
I remember.
So apparently that's being transferred back to quote-unquote original owners. Interestingly enough, right before this happens, I don't know if there's any connection, but yeah, that just happened. So I thought that it was worth mentioning. That's from ABC News.
Interesting.
President Trump also stressing that he knows his representatives are having, quote, very positive talks with Iran. And we did hear from President Trump speaking to reporters yesterday on Saturday as he was heading out of Palm Beach, going to Miami today to attend the PGA Tour Cadillac Championship. He is set to head back to Washington, D.C. tonight. Let's listen to what he had to say during that gaggle with reporters yesterday.
So I think we can do this right here instead of at Doral. We're going to Doral. A lot of you are traveling with me. Doing very well with regard to just about everything, but doing very well with regard to Iran. Again, they want to make a deal. They're decimated. They're having a hard time figuring out who their leader is. They don't know who their leader
literally,
is.
It's a script, bro.
Bro.
It's a script. Here, I'll tell you the five or the few key talking points. Iran is the biggest state sponsor of terrorism. Their leadership is disjointed, as he says. They don't know what the hell they're doing. We've destroyed them militarily, and they're begging for a ceasefire. Those are like the scripted, just muscle memory statements that come out of the mouths of everybody in this administration. It's funny at this point, bro.
Don't forget the Navy is at the bottom of the sea. The Air Force is destroyed.
Like, bro, all empty bragging rights, just so silly.
They want to make a deal. You
gotta love the dedication, though. I mean, I somehow have an admiration for the dedication, and it's kind of funny to see. But what's he gonna say? We're getting our asses whooped. Global oil's high. Made a mistake. He's not gonna say that.
Yeah, he ain't gonna say that shit. So yeah, it's like, what can you do, right? So it's like the propaganda is real, man.
But we'll see. Any questions, real fast? The which? No, I haven't. I'm looking at it up here.
It's almost like he takes questions so he can keep repeating it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like if you notice that, like, they've done more press since the war started. Pete Hegseth has gone live at least once from the Pentagon with Kane. He answers questions. He lets reporters come on Air Force One with him. You know what I mean? So it's almost like he just like, hey, if you repeat it enough, people are going to believe it. And then, all the idiotic people, like when I debate Dinesh Souza, whatever, they say the same exact propaganda talking points. And and if you say it enough, people think it's real.
Yeah.
If you say it enough and often, people really do think it's real. So when I do talk to people about this conflict or whatever, they literally they say these talking points. So, yeah, go ahead.
Well, you know what, these guys, you're completely right. And it's muscle memory, dude. And the reason why Trump confidently asks the press to ask him questions, he wants to be able to address all of these good questions that have people wondering. And he has everything ready for them. And this is what they do. Dinesh D'Souza, like you were mentioning, Patrick Bet-David, Steven Crowder, they are script tellers. They run through the same script with the same set of answers to the difficult questions that other people kind of get stuck on. And this is like, for example, something Charlie Kirk was really good at doing. But he would ensure that he asks the question first to somebody's initial question so he could bring them down that line of rhetoric. That's kind of like what Donald Trump does. That's what all these guys do. They go, why are we at war in Iran? And then, they go, well, who's the biggest state sponsor of terrorism? Who bombed us in 1983? Like all of these different things. And so they bring you down that line and they trap you into conceding to the fact that Iran is a terrorist nation that we must put a cap on before it reaches our land, but it's the Hasbara, it's the propaganda. But again, he banks on ignorant Americans, and they certainly fall for it. Although his approval rating is in the toilet. I just read an article earlier before you came on.
What is that, 33?
Here, I'll pull it back up for you.
What's that? Yeah, last I looked, it was 33%.
It was primarily about the youth, his approval rating with the youth, but I think it has a general one as well. So Trump's disapproval rating hits record high. New poll shows disapproval rose to 62%, the worst of his 2 terms in office amid economic issues since launching his war in Iran. And I think this is worth mentioning as well.
Disapproval is 62. So that means his approval is 33.
So, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so is that 33. Okay, yeah. That's the lowest. Yeah.
And then this here says, for young people, inflation is the #1 economic issue, far outpacing other issues. And they very much wanted Trump to focus on affordability. So it says here 78% of Americans under age 30 disapprove of how Trump is handling inflation currently. So really the youth is where he's completely lost. He's completely lost. Gen X, millennials, all that, everything else there has kind of got some semblance left. But the youth is, 80% is off the Trump train now. And it's safe to say. You see that.
Well, yeah, you see it. Not only that, it's a bipartisan disapproval. Even people that voted for him are not happy with this, including myself and you. Yeah. Oh, well, you didn't vote for, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And shout out, what's up in Red Pill Clippers? Do you want to tell them why didn't you? I guess you can tell them why didn't you vote in particular? Is there a reason why you didn't vote?
Yeah. I said it before. It was because I just didn't think that he would end the issue in Gaza. I didn't think that he was going to take care of the Gaza ceasefire. I thought that it was.
You're correct.
Yeah, it was kind of like an empty brag or like an empty
thing. He did do a ceasefire, but it wasn't like it was more for show.
There was a positive response to it. There was a positive response to it, but to me, I saw the Muslims in Michigan parading around him, that sheikh going up to the stage during his rally saying, we're on board with Trump, but I just wasn't bought in, man. However, I'll admit, like, I felt guilty not voting for him because in the beginning, things were starting to seem like they were going the right way. especially with Gaza. You know, he was kind of getting somewhere, but then that starvation happened. The ceasefire was short-lived and everything else in between. And so that's just what I expected. And that's why I didn't vote. You know, I do have like that vested interest with Gaza, and I wanted there to be a complete peace plan. And this is the thing with the Middle East, bro. It all does start with the Palestine question. That's not like a bleeding heart liberal talking point. That's what started everything that we're dealing with today. It's the question of Palestine, their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, whether it's a one-state, two-state solution. Until that is answered and it's effectuated on paper and we actually see it in person, never will there be peace in the Middle East. It all really does stem from that issue of the Palestine question. That's what started it all. So, really quick, I'll get these chats. Riyadh, I'm just going to read that as the name now. You love me. He's running for Attorney General. Okay, I'll pull it up. Is Myron on... Okay, Beast L2. You can respond. You can cook this guy. Is Myron on his period or something? God damn, not trying to rage bait, by the way.
Who is that?
Beast L2F. Anything you want to cook him with?
No, I just have low tolerance for stupid niggas, bro. That's really what it comes down to. I'm just really tired of like stupid niggas, bro.
Yeah.
You know?
He
super chatted that in?
He did super chat that in. Yeah, he spent his hard-earned money to say some dumb shit. He's realm now. Okay.
Yeah, enjoy the shadow on bitch ass nigga. Like, get the fuck out of here.
LHBB.
Who their leader is? They don't know who their leader is because their leader is gone. Their former leader, Khomeini. But we'll see. Any questions, real fast? The which? No, I haven't. I'm looking at it up here. Yeah, I'll let you know about it later. But
last night you said we might be better off not making a deal with Iran.
Well, I wouldn't have to. I didn't say that. I said that if we left right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild. But we're not leaving right now. We're going to do it so nobody has to go back in 2 years.
Alexander Gray says, damn, people don't learn. They just keep talking shit, and it's hilarious. You roast them. Yeah, niggas are retarded. Yeah, I love when Trump says this, that we set them back 20 years. No, he didn't, bro. This guy forgets that, like, the Iranians have been able to build a country to some degree with crippling sanctions. Also, they got China that's there to help them.
Yeah, with crazy inflation. And that's something that they've gotten used to because of the U.S. sanctions. So we haven't sent anything back 20 years. They're quite used to it. You know, if we set anybody back, it's the Gulf. Because Kuwait has not been able to export any oil in the last 30 days. Not even a drop of oil they've been able to export through the Strait of Hormuz, and a couple other Gulf countries paired along. So if anybody's set back, it's these Middle Eastern countries. And by the way, Kuwait is actually at the brunt of a lot of the Iranian aggression. They got a desalination plant that was struck as well. And according to reports, it's going to take 6 months to a year to rebuild and get it back up to full running. Yeah, to full running quality. So, yeah, it's actually not. It's not Iran that is getting set back. It's our allies, you know. And then you add the bases in tandem with that. It is a recipe for disaster. Mr. Drippy, thank you so much for the sticker. Appreciate it, bro. So, yeah. Crazy. But you can keep going.
Years or 5 years.
Mr. President, you also said last night that...
They told me about the concept of the deal. They're going to give me the exact wording now, yeah.
Mr. President, last night you also said that only like 85% of Iran's missile-making capabilities has been eliminated.
Correct.
Is that other 15% important? Does the United States need to eliminate that?
Well,
she asked about their missile-making capabilities. He said 80% is gone. That's cap too, bro.
Turn captions on. I think it'll show what they're saying, just in case they're low.
Okay. Yeah, let me do that.
That's definitely cap. And that's what Pete Hegseth was saying in the beginning of the conflict. He said that like 2 weeks in that we destroyed a majority of their missile launch pads and stuff. I've been trying to find the clip, but I know he said that out of the Pentagon.
He did.
And that's really the idea they've been echoing anyways, that like we destroyed so much of their missiles and everything like that. If there's anything they have deep reserves and stockpiles of, it's the drones and the missiles. That you can bet, especially the drones. And so you might see those very same missiles and drones that we're claiming to have destroyed a majority of hitting U.S. vessels tomorrow morning. That could very well be the case. We're actually in the next few hours here. However, that may not be the case. I'm just saying that that's a legitimate possibility. But you can keep going.
I'd like to eliminate it, yeah, I'd like to. It'd be a start for them to build up again. And yeah, I would like to eliminate it.
Sir, under what circumstances would you restart military strikes on targets?
Well, I don't want to say that. I mean, I can't tell that to a reporter. if they misbehave, if they do something bad. But right now, we'll see. But, you know,
Yeah, dude. I like, it's day by day with this fucking guy. He does not know what he's gonna do. It's literally day by day.
And by the way, they have misbehaved. They certainly have misbehaved. Remember the 3 ships that they seized after the Tuska was hit? That was earlier last month, because now we're in May. And they just hit a ship today. Some projectile hit a couple ships in the Strait of Hormuz. We obviously know who that was from, because there's only one country controlling the Strait right now. And it wasn't Oman, right? So it was obviously Iran. And we still have not reprimanded or responded to that. We're waiting for a direct aggression on our military before we do something. But again, it's just like Trump is hesitant to do something. And we say this ad nauseum. The Gulf countries are on the receiving end of any Iranian aggression every single time. And who knows what's going to be the next target if it's not the military assets. You know, that's a very scary situation, but that could potentially be the reality in the next 48 hours. If, you know, Trump actually rolls with Operation Freedom and Iran responds the way I think he anticipates they'll respond. Super Javi, thank you so much for the sticker. I appreciate it, bro.
Top Straight, thank you for the 25 gifted. Appreciate you, man. I'm glad that you guys enjoyed the streams with me and my bro. Entertaining you guys. Even if it comes at certain people's it comes at people's cost. But hey, it comes at their expense. But it is what it is, man. We'll entertain y'all niggas, man. We gotta cook some people. It is what it is.
It's a possibility that could happen, certainly.
Mr. President, in your letter to Congress, you said the hostilities in Iran that started have been terminated. How can you say that given that the naval blockade is still being militarily enforced?
Well, it's a very friendly blockade. Nobody's...
This nigga, bro. Yeah, she asked a really good question. How can you say that aggression is done and it's a ceasefire and the war is over when you're still doing a blockade? Which, by the way, guys, blockades are basically a act of war. You know what I mean? And Top Shot, again, I want to give you that. But yeah, like that's an act of war, guys. Having a blockade is an act of war. And like I said before, I think the Iranians can absolutely, you know, endure it for a while. You know, they could take an enormous amount of punishment. But let's be very honest here. You know, at some point, if we continue the blockade, they are going to attack us and retaliate. And that's not good because our ships are there sitting ducks. They're literally sitting ducks.
Precisely. Agreed.
Even challenging it. Nobody at all is challenging it. Just so you understand, many presidents have been involved in things that are very big. They never had to go through anything with respect to Congress. They considered it to be totally unconstitutional. And the Democrats in Congress.
I see a couple of your chats here. M1 came and says, respect for being real ones on Iran and not falling into the sectarian trap. Yeah, guys, I'm honoring my brother's chat too. Don't worry, I got you on ninjas.
Hey,
yeah, we got
that, bro.
Yeah, we got you, bro. Yeah, we're telling the truth, dude. We're telling the truth. Idiots will sit there and say, you know, you guys are IRGC puppets or some other bullshit like that. But it's like, no, bro, just telling you what it is. Because again, my brother makes fun of Shiites. I don't really care about Iran too much, but you know, I do think that it's our duty to let you guys understand what we're doing right now and the real consequences. And you guys got to remember this. Donald Trump and his administration has a vested interest in you guys not understanding what's going on. That's very important that you guys understand that, bro. They have a vested interest in you guys not knowing what the fuck is going on. Okay? Yeah. And that should worry you.
1,000,000%. And by the way, shout out to you if you're Lebanese. We stand with Lebanon. God bless the Lebanese people. And yeah, I mean, they like I've said, Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio and all these guys, they bank on the ignorance of Americans. So that's just what they're going to continue to do. And if you get your media or your news here, well, then you'll see how that's super obvious, and you'll actually see the underlying factors that they'll never talk about. But this is ultimately Israel's war, right? Charlie Kirk said it. Anybody who had no interest in even saying something like this, if they were being honest, would still admit to the fact that this is Israel's war. They want Iran out. They want the IRGC out. The IRGC charges up the proxy network that threatens Israel's ability to encroach upon the borders that it wants to annex, that being the Gaza Strip, that being the West Bank, and then, of course, southern Lebanon as well. That's their goal. They have kind of stated that vaguely, especially in Israeli media. When Benjamin Netanyahu speaks Hebrew, the truth really does come out if you pay attention. So these are not things that they've shied away about. And by the way, they want to ethnically cleanse the Strip. You know, they've said that. Benjamin Netanyahu, there's hidden video footage of him admitting this back in the early 2000s or the 90s. I know if you know what clip I'm talking about. And even then, just recently, Israeli officials admit this. Ben Gvir, they all say this. Ben Gvir's wife, for his birthday, just got him a cake with a big noose on it. I mean, these people don't hide their intentions or the motives, you know? So whatever, they're doing that. But the biggest issue here, aside from the humanitarian violence, of course, that's number one. Number two is the fact that the United States is doing it for them. We're handling the dirty work. We're carrying their blood work. And at the same time, we're going to pay the price for it consequentially as a humanitarian issue, which has been the case the last, 3 years, ever since October 7th really started. So, and then...
The 2001.
Yeah.
No. Basically, all you guys need to know in here is that I can drop the link for you guys. I'm going to let my brother keep going, but I'm just showing you guys this in the background. He admits that he's sabotaging, he sabotaged the Oslo Accords with that Yitzhak Rabin struck with Yasser Arafat. Keep going. I'll just have this shit playing in they can see read the
I was going to read a chat, actually. You could turn the sound on. I was going to read a chat. I'll read it after.
What's the move if you do end up going to war? What would both of you do? If we do end up going to war?
I think we're
already at war.
Yeah.
This comes from Roberto Salazar. Me and my brother already gave what we would do to end this war right now. We talked about it. I don't know if they want us to go over it again, but someone did earlier ask. Go ahead.
No, that's very true. If we, I don't know what you mean. If you mean if the war restarts, I mean we're already at war. But if it were up to us, I'll say this: if it were up to us to end the issues in the Middle East, the first thing we would draw out, and we agreed on this on stream, and we actually uploaded a video on my channel. You can go check it out. Is we would have to talk about Palestine, because everything.
Oh, you got that clip up on your channel?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No. Good. Give me the clip for that so I can share that, because someone asked me, how would you guys end this war? And I told them, me and my brother already came up with an entire strategy on how we would end this thing, and we talked about. It's the one where we talk about handling the Palestine question, then dealing with Iran.
Yep.
That one.
Answering the Palestinian people, and then what we would propose to Iran, the 60% uranium, freeze it there, all that good stuff. But yeah,
drop that link in the chat so I can share it with my people, because someone asked me for it earlier, so I can give it to them.
Yeah, here, if you look at my screen. This is it right here. I'll drop the link, but I just wanted the thumbnail's really hilarious. This is it right here. It's right in the middle. Keep your uranium. Riyad and Myron revealed the exact deals they'd push. The thumbnail by yours truly.
Yeah, that thumbnail's shit. Here,
that's me and you coming off the plane. Here, I'll drop the link though.
That's fucking funny. All right. Well, now I know what the thumbnail is. That's funny, bro. That's actually pretty fucking funny. Let me close some of these goddamn tabs. They don't. You go here, videos. Okay, so, oh yeah, right here. Let me give you guys the link. I'll drop it for you guys here. And my brother posts a lot of clips, guys. So make sure to go check that stuff out, man.
Yeah, try to upload like one.
I'm getting off. I'm getting off my YouTube, by the way, guys. I'm going to Kick. It's Kick only. So come on over, guys. Kick.com/MyGainsX, and then open up another tab. Watch my brother on there as well. Mods, spam both my link and my brother's link if they want to stay on JTube. But open up a Kick link too, guys. It helps a lot with the mission. But YouTube is going down now. Okay. So yeah, let me get this link for you guys. Or actually, no, I already do got it. Okay.
Maybe the chatter, someone in the chat just said this. Potentially, this is what he meant. If we got drafted, maybe that's what he means. I'm not sure.
So, okay. Oh shit! Did I just lose that fucking Trump thing?
Yeah, you could pull up the. Oh. Yeah,
no, I haven't
lost it.
History. It's right here. Project Freedom.
Boop.
Right now, and they shouldn't be doing it. It's never happened before. No other president's done it, and I'm not going to be the first. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Do you envision a future where American energy companies are operating inside of Iran, much like
Could be. It could be. I'll tell you what, we have a lot of ships coming up to Texas and Louisiana. It's a line of ships. You saw it in the satellite. We have a line of ships, big ones, 2 million barrels.
2 million.
And they're coming up. I mean, literally hundreds of ships are in line to go to Texas. I mean, they're already started. But we're selling a lot of oil. A lot of oil.
A lot of oil.
Why is the U.S. removing troops from Germany?
We're going to cut way down, and we're cutting a lot further than 5,000. Thank you very much.
Well, Did you see the chancellor? You see the chancellor cuck himself out and say, "Oh, U.S. is greatest ally." After the chancellor,
After
I saw
the
that earlier
response.
today.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
after
did.
Trump,
I saw that on X.
Yeah, yo, Europe are a bunch of bitch ass niggas, bro. Such a failed, like, so cucked. But
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Well, they're at bay to us, right? They're at our mercy. But the thing is they've been put in a difficult situation with this war because Trump wanted some of their involvement, calling NATO paper tigers and stuff. And so anybody who really voiced like violent condemnation, can I focus? There we go. Violent condemnation against this conflict kind of got on Trump's hit list. And we know how Donald Trump is. If you speak out against him, if you say anything critical of him, he won't hide it and just shake your hand and act like it never happened like Obama. He will make sure he pays that back in full. So, it's one can argue it's a petty move, but I mean, I don't know if I'm completely against it. Why are, maybe we don't need the troops in Germany. That's a different conversation overall. Okay,
yeah,
Roberto says,
sure.
yeah, I meant if we get drafted, can we be drafted? I don't think we'd get drafted. We got drafted, bro. I don't know about that. I
think I'm too old. Top Shay with the big one hundo, man. I appreciate it. He says, how do I donate to the tour? Good job, Riyadh. Well, taking the reports on this current events. Parents did well for you both. Mashallah. Appreciate you, my friend.
Hey, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, man. Yeah, I mean, look, the tour, I mean, MyronGainsX.com is the best way to donate to the Toxic Masculinity Tour. All that money that goes in there goes like towards the security and shit like that. So, because these schools are trying to fucking, basically tell me I gotta fucking get their security, and sometimes they'll charge me like ridiculous prices. Julian says, being a supporter for a long time, and thank you for giving us the best contact over the years. WMRW Riyadh. Got you, my friend.
Thank you.
Bezuma says, native NZ nig is roasting Jeets in their faces. Okay. Bezuma, bro, you got to pull this up. It's native NZ going off on Jeets in the protest. Maestro Steakhouse stays base. Spot the difference. Okay. Force also says, I got a mini Aussie puppy and named her Miley Gaines. Okay. I'm Australian and I'm absolutely losing it, bro. Pull that clip up, man. People got to see. I got you. We pulled it up. How y'all feel about Corvettes? I'm not really a car guy. I always look at Corvettes as like,
broke nigga supercar. Yeah, exactly.
A broke nigga supercar.
That's what it's.
I look at it like,
yeah.
I always say like it's an old white dude car.
Midlife crisis car. Nah, a Vet is a good car though. Like from a car nerd perspective, that's a solid car. Good platform. It just depends what spec you get. But I don't like American cars that much. I like German cars.
Yeah. I love when you both be laughing like that. I appreciate that, Soak City. Everyone's watching. Please open a separate tab for Kickstream. Appreciate that, man. After hours tomorrow, I don't know. I'm tired of the women, bro. Y'all know this already. And then we ran a show on Saturday. And these niggas were supposed to show up and they didn't show up. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, bro, niggas on black people time as usual. Someone said, Ibrahim says, Myron, I went out with an unstable girl one time and she bragged the whole time about how many club owners and promoters she knew. Oh, yeah, you got it. Yo, always leave women like that.
That's a big red pill, by the way. Oh, my God. You guys would be shocked at how these girls are locked in with club promoters. You could pretty much bet if a girl's relatively attractive and you see her out, she's locked in with somebody who's gotten her in there, gets her drinks, and then she promotes the place on Instagram to get more people to come.
Yeah,
that's like a part of the business. That's like an essential part of the business. Pretty girls repping the motto. Kind of like telling everybody on social media, go here tonight.
Yeah, bro. Never like you never want to be with these club girls, bro. Like girls that like are cool with the bouncers in the club, bro. Run from that.
Run.
Roberto 2003.
Funny chat. So if you're gonna say something, go
ahead.
Lost Runner says, for Myron, since we old ninjas can get drafted now, you got to make some OSS badges for our combat helmets for us OSS members.
Oh, man.
Thanks for the $10 lost. VO Mass for $5. He was asked to do illegal surveillance on Muslims. He refused, and now they took his job away. AD8AW on Twitter. Okay, I'll look at that. I'll look at it. Don't worry, VO. I'll take a look. Can't make any promises, but I'll give it a look for you. Go ahead.
Our military strikes on targets.
If they misbehave, if they do something bad, but right now, we'll see. But it's it's a possibility that could happen, sir.
What does the proposal include? Among the requests, according to Iranian state media, 30 days of talks to end the war, a withdrawal of U.S. troops, a lifting of the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports and sanctions, and an end to the war between Israel and the Iranian-backed militant group Hezbollah in Lebanon. The final point may be a tough ask, as Israel and Hezbollah continue exchanging rocket and drone attacks despite a U.S.-brokered ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. And there is no end in sight to fighting in southern Lebanon, with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowing to stay in Lebanon until Hezbollah is fully disarmed. In Tel Aviv, Brian Yennis, Fox News.
In Tel Aviv,
Yeah,
is
that
just
was the
crazy.
latest. Yeah, of course, Tel Aviv, bro.
In Tel Aviv.
Saying a cargo
Fox
ship.
Yeah, like he's gonna give you guys any objective fucking from Tel Aviv, bro. Tel Aviv kicked out. Yo, just so you guys know, the Israelis kicked out Al Jazeera because they said mean things about Netanyahu, bro. You know, so you know they talk about this is democracy, free speech. Come on, bro.
That's a whole nother thing as well. Benjamin Netanyahu was fighting for his life to stay in power, and so for him, there is no such thing as a ceasefire right now. He cannot afford that. He needs war to be constant. He needs it to be ongoing. So he has some sort of ability to say, "I must stay in power." You know, that's what he did.
And
with
the other reason too why he needs war is because he needs all the Arab nations to stay weak. And what's the fastest way to keep a country destabilized and weak? Perpetual war, bro.
Yeah. Yep.
Perpetual war.
Always in a state of defense. And that's the thing with the ceasefire as well. Iran has had about a month and a half now to race and ramp back up for their missiles and drones. I mean, who knows what they've done in that time? They've had a lot of time to breathe.
Yeah.
There's no.
Yeah,
we didn't need the breather. We don't need it, but they needed it, and so they got that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Trump needed it politically, not militarily, but he needed it politically. Versus for them, you know, militarily they needed it, so they were able to rebuild and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, you know, yeah, Trump needed that definitely politically because he was getting the price was going up. I think it was like right before the ceasefire broke, it was like $130, $140 for a barrel of crude. So, you know, that's really, it's kind of funny how Brent crude has been like the real, like, you know, dictator in how in military posture of what like Trump does.
Yeah.
Like all these true social posts, all the things that he does, everything that he says, it's always for some type of purpose. A lot of times it's for the markets because Trump is very big on the markets. And
did you say this? I was listening to somebody else the other day, but they framed it perfectly. They said Trump has two faces. You know, he has the public facing side, Truth Social side, which is we're winning, we're good, don't worry, it's all good, we have it under control. And then his negotiating side inside of the Situation Room or the Oval Office that might be a little bit different, which is why Iran actually even sent the proposal in the first place. Maybe because Donald Trump was working with them to some degree. There was some capitulation, I don't know. But yeah, definitely. I mean, he's arguably the most powerful person on the planet, right? So whatever he says certainly affects the markets, but it's diminishing. That ability is diminishing. Because when was the last time we dropped below 100? It was early April, you know, or mid-April, you know. Ever since people noticed that these ceasefire talks are really going nowhere and the war is about to restart, regardless of whatever Trump has said, the oil has not gone down. And again, if there's any sort of drone flying overhead these oil vessels tomorrow morning or this morning right now, actually, well then, you know, you can bet that global oil prices will follow that very closely.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's all strategic, man. This whole thing about escorts or whatever, bro, you can't even protect the bases. You think Lloyd's of London is going to insure anybody?
Yeah,
come on, man.
No, they certainly won't. They certainly won't. Clever says, I have some intelligence that Mossad walks among you. Very funny. That's a good one. I like that. Abista Film 88 says, bro, you were right about New Zealand. Do me a favor and make a video about how bad our country is. You have influence to wake people up here. We are cooked. Hey, bro, it's over for you, man. Maybe we will. One Chest says, for your information, Myron has custom fat loss coaching accountability plus monthly Zoom calls with Myron. Shout out to One Chest. That is the official trainer for my brother's community, OSS. He'll get you guys hooked up with whatever you need. So you got it. Yeah, I think it's actually, I'll give it to you. But yeah, shout out to One Chest. If you are fat and not in shape in 2026 somehow, figure your shit out. But after you do that, get in contact with One Chest. He'll get you right. Downtown.
Drop the link in the chat for you guys.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'll pin it actually if you can't. And then Downtown says, would you? So that fitness link is linked right there in my chat, or pinned, sorry. So if you need a coach, and hit him up. Good results. I see all of his transformations with his clients, so he's legit. We won't steer you wrong. L obesity. All right. I'm reading somebody in the chat. Someone said that. But yeah, man, that's kind of the situation. That's the situation. I read over the 14-point plan earlier. You want to take a quick look at that, and then we'll close. I'll
Yeah. Is there a video for it, or do you want to
get in bed like a good slave? No. I mean, I have a.
Oh, you have it? Oh, okay. Then I'll stop sharing it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I have the post here. We can read through it. I also had a video as well, but let's take a look. So is this similar to the one that you saw? This is from Dropsite. I put the same one.
Yes.
As well. So this is the 14-point plan. I said this earlier to my chat, but we'll just go over it one more time since we've kind of gone over everything. We'll tie it all together. So this is what Iran proposed to the United States. So this is phase 1. So first point, transform the ceasefire into a permanent end to the war within at least 30 days with a region-wide ceasefire. That means Israel not attacking Lebanon. Really hard to do.
Yeah, really hard to do.
Yeah, mutual Iranian.
I would argue maybe not going to happen. Maybe not even going to happen. Who knows?
It's not. This is the thing, too, and I said this previously. You really want to stop the war in Iran, you got to reprimand and stop Israel. You got to stop them with their actions in southern Lebanon. The West Bank, I don't know if that matters that much to Iran, but southern Lebanon is huge because that's where their proxy is. So that's first and foremost. If you don't address that, if you don't answer that, nothing's going to get anywhere. And remember, we got the ceasefire in the beginning of April, I think April 7th, and then Israel and Lebanon had the whole thing. Well, Israel actually struck Lebanon 100 times inside of one day, the most since the beginning of the war for the last prior 4 weeks. And it was obvious they were trying to agitate the issue and completely undermine and destroy that ceasefire. That was already fragile anyways, so who's to say they won't do it again? Mutual Iranian-American non-aggression pledge, including Iran's allies in Israel, establish an international mechanism to guarantee no return to war, gradual opening of the Strait of Hormuz. That might be an issue as well. It's got to be immediate, I would foresee. With Iran overseeing mine clearance and accepting U.S. technical support. And I mean, look at how, again, these are like bold, very much like we have all the cards kinds of claims here. And this is why Trump rejected it. And then it keeps going. Parallel gradual lifting of the blockade on Iranian ports, withdrawal of U.S. forces from Iran's maritime perimeter, and an end to military buildup. That could mean these Gulf nations, right, where our bases are located. Amend the compensation clause under a new proposed framework. So that's phase 1. Phase 2 is the nuclear file. So it says full freeze on uranium enrichment for up to 15 years. So it stays at 60%. That's what we said, actually, interestingly enough. Maybe they're watching us. Afterward, enrichment resumes at 3.6 to 3.67% under a zero storage principle. No dismantling of nuclear infrastructure or destruction of facilities.
And just so you know, that's what they had with Oman. No stockpiling when they had to deal with Oman.
Yeah. Yep. No dismantling of nuclear infrastructure or destruction of facilities. Fate of highly enriched uranium under discussion. Export or downblending. Export is not likely. It'd probably be downblending. Clear mechanism for sanctions relief tied to nuclear steps. Gradual release of frozen Iranian funds with a defined timeline. And the reason why I say export is less likely is because several Iranian officials, Mohammad Ghalibaf, the son, Mujtaba Khamenei, the new leader now, they've said the uranium is not leaving our soil. And then strategic dialogue with Arab states and the broader region to build a comprehensive regional security system. And that would be the third phase after everything else. But I mean, the first phase is bold, and I think this is where things probably lost Trump. Gradual opening of the Strait of Hormuz. It cannot be gradual, because even with an immediate opening of the Strait of Hormuz, the effects of what has already previously happened will delay over another few weeks, if not a few months. Plus, the Pentagon had stated it could potentially take 6 months to clear the mines out of the Strait. Did you see that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's why Iran has to do it.
Yeah. So, I mean, who knows how long it will be after everything is already agreed upon. And now they're adding the fact that it'd be a gradual opening instead of immediate. So, again, these are all things that, and I'm being fair here, I don't think the United States would actually agree upon. I don't think that these are super fair. I do think the nuclear side is decent. I think freezing their enrichment and kind of bringing it back down to where it was during the Iranian nuclear deal in 16 and 15 is valid. But again, I mean, they can stay at 60% for 15 years. That's a ton of time. And again, that's not something that Donald Trump would want to agree upon. Remember, J.D. Vance went in the beginning of the month, and he was making way more maximalist demands. He was asking for them to relocate their enrichment, get rid of the uranium. I mean, all of these crazy things, or just get rid of the uranium as a whole, actually, is what he asked for entirely. So just not likely, and that's why Donald Trump has now launched Operation Freedom. And this is probably one of the last-ditch efforts that the United States has up its sleeve before we just strike them again. Get them to strike us, or maybe they won't strike us, and then we can get some ships through the Strait of Hormuz and walk away with some bragging rights. Ultimately, though, it is quite futile, I must admit. So, yeah, that's kind of the long and short of it. I don't know. My brother's dealing with Frank over there. What you got going on?
No. I was adjusting the camera.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it looks good though. It looks good. I like that everything in the back is focused now. And the color.
Yeah. You can actually like read the book and shit. So
yeah.
So yeah.
Good.
No. So yeah, we'll now we got to get you with your we got to get your thingy
set up.
Your I'm gonna give you the login for StreamYard, but you got to go to sleep now, so I could send it to you tomorrow.
Yeah, and do whatever. But yeah, okay, guys, I'm gonna end over here. Before I end, check out. I'll plug this really quick. Oy vey. Give me 1 second. Check out my check out the clips page on the gram. That's Riyadh Pilled. So if you can't watch the stream, you can at least get a little bit of some doses as to what's going on. And then here, I just actually, so this is you, right?
Yeah. There I am.
Gram. All right, perfect. So
Official Myron Gaines, nigga. That's my new shit, guys. Give it a follow.
That's where you can find it. And then but yeah, that's pretty much everything, man. Anything else you wanted to add on to the 14-point plan? I mean, it's very straightforward, really.
No, it's straightforward, but he's gonna reject it.
Yeah.
No, I think he's gonna reject it, and
I think this Operation Freedom thing is his way of saying that's not happening. To be honest with you.
Exactly.
Exactly. But yeah,
that's we'll see what happens, man. I mean, I think at least kinetic strikes are probably gonna come.
Certainly, I think that's wave at some point. Yeah.
I think that's what he's gonna try to do. I truly do think and the thing also is like he doesn't really know what to do. Like it's like every day, like things are changing, so it's like this erraticness is like not helping.
Yeah, no, certainly he's volatile, but I actually anticipated that the economic war, the whole blockade situation, would last well into the summer, but it looks like we can't hang on that long, and it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious with the prices, gas, everything else in between. Trump's gonna have to do something and make a shift. But
yeah, and this blockade is like, and the other thing too is like, this blockade, they can last longer with the blockade than we can with the high gas prices. He's got to understand that like Americans are used to a certain quality of life that like we're just not going to tolerate certain shit that Iranians will, like they're used to. And for them, it's an existential war. So like their government can better justify the discomfort to their people than Donald Trump can to us.
Very well said. Yeah, for them it's defensive.
Defensive, and then especially when Donald Trump campaigned against these two things.
Yeah.
Like bro campaign against this shit, and he's doing it. That's why so many people are mad. That's why their approval ratings are so low.
Bros on Truth Social talking about we're going to let the oil vessels pass through with our military security because I care about the humanitarian effort. But then just a few weeks before, he says we're going to bomb the shit out of their power plants and send them back to the Stone Age. It's like, all right, bro. You're not winning over any Iranian people talking like that.
Yeah. Like anyone that might, even if you had some dumbass monarchists that were there, bro, you made them go with you made them side with the RGC, bro.
Exactly.
I did that one, bro.
Exactly. It's not hard to pick a side when the opposing leader is saying things like that. So
yeah, that's cooked.
Yeah, very cooked.
No.
But okay, yeah, I'm all caught up on chats. I'll head out and send everybody over to the kick stream. But yeah, until next time, I guess maybe Wednesday or Thursday, I'll be back on and then see if we can catch you.
All right, cool. So yeah, guys, come on over. Kick.com/MyronGainesX. I'm live there right now. Let me drop the link for you, ninjas. And then wait, we'll be back. What day are we gonna come back with you? What day?
Wednesday or Thursday.
Thursday?
Unless some shit pops off. You know what it is. Some shit pops off.
Yeah.
So it all really depends. But typically the schedule is Wednesday, Thursday, and then Saturday, Sunday, given like there's enough to kind of go over, but like 4-ish times a week. But if the news is pressing, we'll be back on tomorrow. It all depends. Who knows what can break out tomorrow in regards to this whole situation of Operation Freedom, right? So we'll play it by ear.
All right, cool. So I'll see you guys. I'm dropping a kick like some dumbass nigga said, screw you, Myron. We'll enjoy the shadow room. Stupid motherfucker.
All right, perfect. All right, I'll send it to everybody. You pinned it?
I can't pin it for some odd. I can't pin it. You got to pin it for some odd reason. It doesn't let me pin. Fucking weird.
Yeah, I'll handle it right now. And shout out to our moderators, Kiki and Tia Kiki and Desert Joe. You guys are the best. Appreciate it. All right, that's pinned in the chat. Head over there. And yeah, guys, see you later in the week. Unless Iran drones the shit out of a U.S. vessel tomorrow, then I'll see you tomorrow. All right, guys. Till next time.
All right, man.
Peace out.
All right, man. I'll see you.
All right. All right, everybody. I like to formally just say bye here really quickly before I end everything. But caught up on chats. Love all of you. Appreciate the love. We're almost at 21K subs. So, again, never want to be short of the gratitude there. But until next time, we'll see what happens. Could be some more strikes here in the region with Trump's, I say, provocative actions. But only time will tell. So until next time, guys, God bless. Have a great rest of your night.